I didn't look half bad either back in the day. My breasts, Peter, were so perky. They didn't hang down to my knees like they do now, Peter. They were perky. I didn't need a bra, Peter.
Hello, I just wanted to thank you for clicking on my video, and I wanted to let you know not only do I create content on my YouTube channel here, Class in a Glass, but I'm also on Twitch where I play single-player games, multiplayer games. I do movie reviews, cartoon reviews, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Also, it would be a big help if you can check out my Patreon where you can gain access to audio commentaries, reactions, and the ability to submit questions for my podcasts and videocasts. And all that content can be found in the links below. In the meantime, enjoy the video.
But now, my friends, now we can go ahead. We can go ahead and get into tonight's review. This review's been a long time coming, chat. Some of my favorite reviews that I've done on stream have been my Raimi Spider-Man film reviews, chat. You can currently view my Spider-Man 2002 review on my YouTube channel, Class in a Glass. Spider-Man 2 will eventually be uploaded, chat, and edited to my YouTube channel. Don't worry. It's safe. It's secure. I know where it is. You're going to get it. But, chat, I'm going to eventually review all the Spider-Man films. Going to do the Andrew Garfield ones. I'm going to do the Tom Holland ones. Going to do Into the Spider-Verse. It's going to be great. But, chat, we are currently at Spider-Man 3. So for those of you that know me, maybe you don't know, maybe you don't know my opinions on this film, or the Spider-Man trilogy in general. I will say, not the biggest fan of the trilogy in general. There's things I like about it. Obviously, William Dafoe as, Norman Osborn / the Green Goblin. MJ and I are gonna have a hell of a time. Like, I love all that shit, chat. Finish it. I love that. So goddamn good. Oh, but yeah, I think I gave the movie maybe high rental. I think with Spider-Man 2, I gave a rental. Spider-Man 3, not the biggest fan of, chat. I think it's definitely the weakest of the trilogy for various reasons, of which I'm going to go into detail of. I'm gonna give you such a depth of detail, chat. I've thought about this film for many, many years. But, chat, before I start talking about my experiences with this movie, and before I get into the nitty-gritty details of the scene by scene breakdown itself, I need to ask you a very important question, chat. And that question being, how many of you have seen Sam Raimi's 2007 superhero adaptation, Spider-Man 3? Very curious about this, chat. What if it was my favorite part of this? Oh, yeah, absolutely he is. He's in a small amount in this movie, a very small amount. Avenge me! Yeah. You have your eye off the ball, Harry. Chris Ayers, of course. Money Marvelous, yes. GMC, I did, sadly. Gentlemen, yes. C-Map saw in theaters opening weekend. Me too, man. All the way back in 2007. I was a junior in high school? Maybe. No, I think I was a sophomore. Maybe I was a sophomore or a freshman. I forget. I honestly would have loved to know what Amazing Spider-Man 3 would have been like. Talk about Amazing Spider-Man series someday. Did you watch the editor's cut? I did not watch the editor's cut. No, I watched the theatrical cut. I'll talk about some of the edited scenes, some of those scenes, but I did not see that version. I just saw the regular theatrical version. Yes. Alkaline Trio, Peter Parker. No, there you go. What happened? By the end of Spider-Man 3, I was like, I think something happened, but I don't like what we learned. I think we learned anything. We'll talk about the lessons learned, the lessons of this movie, and where our characters are. V half watches I had on the background while we were working. Okay, well, so most of you have seen this film, at least seen clips of it, know of its legacy, chat. In my opinion, its infamous legacy. I saw this movie, as I said before, 2007, opening weekend. I liked, at the time, Spider-Man 1 was definitely my favorite. Spider-Man 2, I remember, I liked it, but I didn't think it was as good as 1. I think it had some pacing issues. That's one of the things I emphasize in my review. There's a lot of pacing issues. A lot of scenes, humor scenes that just don't work. It's really campy. And I was like, well, Spider-Man 3, it's like, oh, they're introducing so many elements to it. You got the revenge arc with Harry Osborn as the new Goblin. We'll talk about that in a second. Sandman, and of course Venom. And before the movie came out, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of elements. It's a lot of villains being thrown into one movie, chat. For the most part, each Spider-Man film basically had one villain. I mean, you can say, like, well, Harry Osborn's a villain in 2. It's like, one villain. We had Green Goblin in the first one, Dr. Octopus in the second one, and now we got 3. Like, all right, that's a lot to do. That's a lot of story to carry. And I remember seeing it. I think it was like my father. Maybe I went with my friends. I don't remember. It's been so long. It's been 13, 14 years now. So I said, the movie's almost 15 years old, chat. It's crazy. And we've had 2 new rebooted Spider-Man series since then, and an animated series. I guess 3 technically. 3 Spider-Man franchises since 2007, and. Whether I saw with my father, my family, or my friends, I just remember watching this and I remember it wasn't like I watched like, oh no, that was good. No, I remember like watching it and distinctly going, this is bad. This is awful. And it's even like how the movie starts. So we'll get in the details of it, how it just completely circumvents and ignores the problems of Spider-Man 2, like of Peter's problems in Spider-Man 2. And it's like, everything's great, everything's much better. It's like, wait a minute, you were like literally you were like sick. You were sick because of all the fucking stresses of your life, being Spider-Man, being Peter Parker. And this movie, he's just like, my life's great now. I was just able to work it out. How? Anyway, here's the Sandman. It's like, what? I just remember being like, that's weird. That's weird, because that was a big part of Spider-Man 2 and its plot and kind of being an adaptation of Spider-Man No More and shit. And then as the movie went along and did everything with Harry, really bothered. Like, the Harry Osborn stuff, this movie really bothers me. Really sticks in my craw. I'll get in the details about it. I was like, oh boy. And then by the time we get to Sandman, of course, who I think Thomas Hayden Church is a great actor in this movie. Or no, not in this movie, excuse me. No, let me back up. Hold on, reverse. I think Thomas Hayden Church is a good actor. Sideways, he's fantastic in Sideways. See that movie, Jim. Paul Giamatti, so good. But man, they do nothing fucking with him here. And what they have him do is just kind of insulting, to I think his abilities as an actor. I mean, he's so wooden, and it's not his fault because he can be a very charismatic actor. But so much of his dialogue is stilted. So it's like, I just tried to save my daughter. I'm not a bad person. I just have bad luck. It's like, oh, come on. Like, all that. Now, there's some great things of Sandman in terms of the aesthetic and special effects. I'll talk about some of these scenes. Some of it's dated, but we'll talk about it. And then, of course, everything with the black suit, the symbiote, I keep calling it the symbiote, Venom. Yeah, awful shit. Everything about it is bad. From when Peter has it to when Topher Grace's Eddie Brock has it, chat. How they handle Eddie Brock, that character is bad. Relationship between Peter and MJ is just annoying. They don't give Kristen Dunst anything to do. She's very you just dislike her. There's nothing likable about her in the movie, even though she has there's a couple scenes where it's like, all right, I get why you're mad, but at the same time, legitimately mad. I understand. But there's some other stuff that's like, oh, fuck you for being selfish. We'll get into it, chat. And yeah, it doubles down all the things I didn't like about the previous Raimi films, that really campy humor. I know Raimi has a lot of camp. Obviously, Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, of course. Even the Asher's Evil Dead series, I understand that, but it just doesn't work for the movie. A lot of it, for most of it, I'd say. And then even when it introduces these dramatic elements that could be interesting, it just it's like, whatever. It just ignores them. It just drops the ball. And it just comes out to being just a really disappointing film. And not all of it's Sam Raimi's fault. A lot of people like to say Sam Raimi is not to blame for that movie. He doesn't take all the blame, okay? Obviously, Sony forced certain things on him. But at the same time, he should take some of the blame too. There's no doubt about it. And I'll get into the nitty-gritty details of that, of the tone of the movie, how Toby acts when he has the symbiote. Because I'm like, this is weird. This didn't need to be this way. We'll talk about it. E-Mike, thank you so much. How many biddies was that for the 24 biddies? Tom Maguire's come back from No Him. Maybe. I'm guessing he will. And Andrew Garfield. We shall see. But yeah, overall, chat, yeah, I am. Jason, thank you for the biddy. Appreciate that. No, we'll get into the nitty-gritty details of the film itself. But yeah, overall, chat, it's just kind of a failure in many regards. To me, it's the worst Spider-Man film. I know a lot of people like to say the Amazing Spider 1 and 2 are the worst ones. I'm like, they're not great, especially 2. But man, 3, I'm just like, oof, it's rough to watch. It's cringy. I don't like to use the word, I use the word cringe. I literally was typing notes out, cringe, this cringy scene, because it just is. It's like you just feel bad for the people involved in the scene, like the people who are talking to each other. Just a very odd decisions made. Dobby, think of the Timmies when you get a chance. Chris asked Martin his opinion on the movie. I was surprised. Oh, I think I might know Martin's opinion on the film. I think he's talked about it maybe once or twice, maybe one time he mentioned it. Yeah, but yeah, it seems we have some people in here who don't hate the movie as much or dislike the movie as much as I do. They think it's just okay, which is fair to you. Fair enough. Fair enough. Do you want to talk about the history of this film in general, chat? Brief background. Critically, the movie got pretty mixed reviews. Did not achieve the critical success that the Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 did, especially Spider-Man 2. Not awful. Not really bad. I think since its release, the opinions on the film have soured even more, I want to say. But it was initial release, I want to say it was pretty mixed reviews. Huge commercial success for Sony. It was the highest grossing film of the Raimi trilogy of the Spider-Man franchise for a time until the release, I believe, of Spider-Man Homecoming. Made $894.9 million, Chad. Has an estimated budget, which is weird, between $258 and $350 million. What are you doing with that extra? Where's that extra $100 million going to? Very curious about that. I think at the time, it was the most expensive movie ever made. So, and that was anticipation because of various things, chat, the inclusion of Venom, who is despite me not being a fan, is a fan favorite character among many Spider-Man comic book fans. I think that's what drove the film to do and perform so well commercially. Sam Raimi, brief background. Sam Raimi has since he's disowned the movie. In years since, chat. Initially defended it, but now that, time has passed, he's like, yeah, it's a bad movie. He's since disowned it, saying that he never understood the character of Venom, which I get. He was because I remember him talking about, in interviews, when, Spider-Man 1 was coming out, Spider-Man 2 and things. He said he was really attracted to the Spider-Man 60s and 70s comics. That's what he grew up on. That's what he enjoyed reading as a child and as a high schooler. And as a college student, and he identified with that, and that's why he liked to use villains like the original Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus and Sandman and things. And originally in Spider-Man 3, he was going to have two villains. It was going to be Sandman and Flint Marko Sandman, and the other villain was going to be the Vulture. The studio, Sony, said, we want you to replace one of those villains with Venom, who again, very popular character, despite what I think of him. I don't like Venom in general. And Raimi was not a fan of the character, include him. Now, so Sony deserves some blame for the inclusion of him in this movie when he was not fucking needed. I agree with that. However, the way Sam Raimi portrays Venom and the Black Symbiote in this movie is fucking bizarre to me. One of the things, because we all know, when Toby gets the suit, the symbiote's supposed to increase your aggression, showcase in the comics, it's showcased in the animated series and things. And yet the way that, and we see that in the movie, but at the same time, Raimi increases the campiness and the dorkiness of Peter, and it's very odd to me. And it comes off unintentionally funny or just cringy. And that's what doesn't work. I mean, those are some of those infamous scenes. Of course, the dance scene, the nightclub scene, chat, the dialogue, the hair, the eyeliner, all that. It's the symbiote shouldn't make you do all that. It shouldn't make you that emo, in my opinion. And listen, Sony takes a lot of blame. I blame Sam Raimi for that. That's him. I don't think that's Sony. You could have, I didn't say the animated series did a better job of portraying the symbiote's effect on Peter, just making him aggressive. I think that was more, it was handled better. It was handled better, obviously. And I have various, issues with the series, but the symbiote arc in that original first season was handled much better. And yeah, it's, since then, obviously, like I said, he's disowned the movie. And, they were going to do a Spider-Man 4. There was going to be a fourth installment at the time. But Sony had set a release date, I think, for 2011. And Raimi said, I needed more time. And they're like, no, we want this. And he's like, all right, fuck it. I'm out. So his relationship with Sony soured. And eventually, or at least in regards to a Spider-Man franchise. And then they decided to reboot it. They're like, all right, forget it. Not doing a fourth film. You can find artwork. You can find concept art of Spider-Man 4 online. They were going to have Bruce Campbell as Mysterio. It was supposed to focus on the Vulture. I believe John Malkovich had been cast at the time as the Vulture. It was also going to co-star Anne Hathaway as either the Black Cat, Felicia Hardy, or it was rumored either she was going to be the Black Cat, Felicia Hardy, or she was going to be a new character created for the movie called the Vulturess, who was going to be the Vulture's daughter. So that was the plan, but again, they got scrapped, and then they rebooted the series with Mark Webb and did the Amazing Spider-Man for Andrew Garfield. And then, history, and then history happened, Chad, and we saw what happened with all those films. That they couldn't agree on which villains to use. He just said, "Fucking him, I don't want to repeat 3," which I understand. I get that. I know that he wanted the. I think John Malkovich was already cast by that point. And like they were looking at looking at Anne Hathaway to play another character, a villainous character, femme fatale-esque character, either as Black Cat or Vultures. But didn't happen, obviously. But yeah, that's kind of pretty much the history of the film, and I think just since then, it has its fans, there's no doubt about that, but I think for the most part, opinion on this movie is not positive, especially compared to, let's just say this, the opinions on the film are not as positive as, say, the original 2 Raimi films, Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2, okay? We'll leave it at that, Chet. But now I'm going to go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty fucking details of this movie, Chet, and why I personally think this is the worst cinematic adaptation, Chet, of Spider-Man. We start out with opening credits, Chet. Now, the opening credits, if you ask Martin, it's best. I mean, Martin can be wrong. It's Martin. You know what? It's okay, Chad. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. Nothing wrong with being wrong, Chad. Martin likes the movie. Totally okay with me. I respect his opinion. I understand why he doesn't like Spider-Man 2. I understand his criticism of the movie. Believe me, I think I share many of his criticisms of Spider-Man 2. I talked about them in depth. Like, believe me, I'm not like I love the Raimi films. Like, I really don't. Like, I like the first one fine. High rental. Second one, rental. This one, I shall reveal my rating in a bit. But, to each their own. Thank you, Luke the Boss, for 2 biddies. But yeah, we start with opening credits fanfare. And I will say, compared to the opening credits, it's kind of like the middle one. Because you have the original opening credits for Spider-Man 1, which kind of looked like a PS2 cutscene, with all the webbing coming from, out of nowhere and shit, and forming the webs and stuff, and Spider-Man suit. But I love the Spider-Man 2 opening credit scene, Chad, because it uses artwork that Alex Ross drew for the movie itself, which recaps the events of Spider-Man, which I think is awesome. In Spider-Man 3, they don't bring Alex Ross back, which I think is a shame, and they just, it's pretty much the same idea that Spider-Man 2 had with the opening credits, but it's just showing archive footage. It's just showing old footage of Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, recapping the story, chat. Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, he's a fucking nerd. He gets bit by the spider, radioactive spider, or bioengineered spider, fights Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin. Spider-Man 2, fucking fights Dr. Octavius, Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus. Falls in love with Mary Jane. Harry wants to stab the shit out of his best friend. All that shit recapped. And it's fine. It's better than the first one, not as good as the second one. I really loved the Alex Ross artwork. And I misremembered it. I was like, oh yeah, no, Alex Ross does artwork for the third one. I'm like, oh, I was wrong. It's just archive footage. Goddamn shame they weren't able to bring back Alex Ross, because he did some great fucking work in Spider-Man 2. Like, one of the things I'll say, hey, that opening credits in Spider-Man 2, fantastic. And then, chat, after the opening credits sequence, I think Sony and Sam Raimi's like, you know what? Okay, all right, Toby, we're going to give you one more chance. Third time's the charm, right? To do the opening narration, chat, because I'm sorry, but Tobey Maguire is fucking awful at narrating things. He has no charisma when he's just reading things off a page. Because you remember, like, in the original Spider-Man, it's just like, do you want to hear about my story? It's not a very great tale. It's not even a very happy one. Some might say it's dark. It's like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Why are you so dour all of a sudden? And it's like, no, we're gonna give him the third chance. And this one, it's the same fucking thing. It's this. I was like, God damn it, Toby. Where it opens with like, hi everybody, I'm your friendly neighborhood Well, you know. It's like, all right, just fucking say Spider-Man, Jesus Christ. And he's like, he has a little bit of emotion, like a bit, because at this point, chat, as we're going through this narration, Spider-Man's life, Peter Parker's life is the best. Even though in Spider-Man 2, a big plot point in that movie was that he can't balance this. He is running at the end of his fucking wick, chat. He can't balance his life as Peter Parker. He's going to college full time. He's trying to hold down a job. He's trying to woo Mary Jane. He's trying to be fucking Spider-Man. It's running him ragged. It's like, that's interesting. That's interesting, and it makes sense. That's what I think makes Spider-Man so personal, why people identify him as a character, especially as a student who's trying to work, who's trying to go to college, who's trying to take care of his fucking sickly aunt, maintain a fucking relationship with a girl who is so fucking selfish. It's like, I get that. But this movie's like, oh yeah, I figured it all out. Like the dialogue that we're given, like where he's like, oh yeah, remember when I was all stressed out, how I was basically, my life was in ruins? I figured it out. How'd you figure it out? Oh, they're going to give me the key to the city. Isn't that cool? It's like, there's no explanation. It's like, what are you talking about? And they do this for a lot of the movie. For very big, important plot points. I'm like, that's weird. That really sticks in my goddamn craw. And he's swinging around the city, and everyone loves him. It's like, fool, Spider-Man, yeah. Yo, if you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. Like, hell yeah, I'm a New Yorker. I saw you on the Brooklyn Bridge when I fought the Green Goblin. Yeah. It's like, all right, cool. And he's swinging around the city, and then he's in fucking Times Square, and we see all these kids who are watching the Spider-Man footage, and they leave. And Tobey Maguire's like, hey, kids, why don't you come back and sit near me, and we can watch the footage? And they're like, nah, it's just going to repeat itself. We've seen it. And he goes, okay. And it doesn't matter, Chad. It doesn't matter, because even though, he had a horrible, stressful life in 2, he figured it out for no reason. Got it. All right, great. And you know what, Chad? And you know what's even the best part of his life? He's dating the girl of his dreams. His girlfriend is Mary Jane Watson, a very successful theater actress. Or is she, Chad? He just got tickets to her brand new fucking Broadway, off-Broadway, I think it's off-Broadway, but whatever, it's a show, her new fucking show, chat. And he goes there, he gets all fucking cleaned up for it, gets the suit, goes to the fucking ticket booth and says, hi, sir, Mary Jane Watson, one of the stars of the show. She's my girlfriend, by the way. She said you provided me a ticket. And he goes, yep, here we go. Front row tickets, chat, pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, Toby's not. Yes, he is. In the opening, don't. I saw it. Watch the opening montage of Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man 2, and the original Spider-Man, and tell me that he's not monotone. He is monotone. I watched this today. I know. I mean, I feel like telling him Jay took some stress off him. I guess so. Sucking the weapon out, I guess. I don't know. But he gets his tickets. He gets to the front. And he sits right there in the front chair. And these big two fat guys sit next to him. He goes, oh. And these fat guys, they're spreaders, Chad. They're man spreaders. Like, listen, we like to part our legs, we like to part our thighs, but we really part in the theater. Like the seats, by the way, theater seating, like in regular, like I'm not talking like movie theaters, but like theaters, shitty. Fucking, you charge $1,000 for tickets for Hamilton and Phantoms, $3,000. You can't take the goddamn time to actually improve your fucking seats. All right, do that. Why do I got to sit in this metallic, uncomfortable chair that has been polished by many an ass that now it's bronze? It's like it's gray and now it's bronze for some reason. The fuck is with that? Upgrade your goddamn seats, New York. There's no fucking reason why they're not. Anyway, that's just the thing. And he's sitting next to these two fat guys who are man spreaders, and they're like, oh. They're like that. They're just two big fat guys. And then the play instantly starts. And MJ, she's walking down these fucking stairs. And she's singing this love song or whatever. I don't know what the lyrics. Like, love is so great. Or whatever the hell it is. And she's good. She's good. She's doing a good job. She looks beautiful. Chris Nuts looks beautiful here. But then Toby's like doing weird shit where he starts mouthing the words of the song because he knows it. He's memorized it or whatever. And that's annoying. Don't do that. It's annoying and it's creepy. And you're distracting me. You're distracting the audience members. Don't do that, Toby. And then he goes to the fat guy to his right or left, and he says, hey, That's my girlfriend. It's like, I don't fucking care, dude. I just want to see the goddamn show. It's like, whatever. But then, Chad, we get to one of my favorite parts of the movie. Because as he's mouthing the love song that Mary Jane is sprecking right now, we then pan over to Harry Osborn, chat. And he is in a balcony seat, and he's got these opera goggles, even though the stage is literally not far away. It's not that far, but he's got these opera goggles, and he, like, uses them like this. He's looking at MJ. He's like say he's, like, looking at MJ right here. And he parts his head, and he looks right at fucking Peter. He's just staring right at him. Because, chat, and this is crazy to me. This is crazy to me right here. This is one of the biggest issues of the film, and I'm sorry, there is no excuse for this. There's absolutely no excuse for this, because this film takes place a year after the events of Spider-Man 2. It does. They confirm in the movie. But after the play ends, everyone's going outside. Fucking Peter spots Harry going into a car. And he goes, Harry, oh, listen, Harry, we got to talk. And I'm like, wait, when I first saw this movie, the thing that blew my mind, and no one else is talking about it, what blew my mind, Chad, because after the event, in Spider-Man 2, big part of the plot in that movie is Harry wants revenge of Spider-Man, hires Dr. Octavius, who gets the fucking unobtainium, the power of the sun in the palm of my hand. And, all that shit to make his big fucking giant sun snow globe, whatever the hell it was. And Doc delivers Spider-Man to Harry, and then Harry unmasks Spider-Man. It's Peter. He's like, holy shit. And, Harry blames Peter for the death of his father. And Spider-Man, Peter was just like, listen, Harry, I got to stop Doc Ock. We'll talk about this later. And you're telling me in the year that after Peter defeated Dr. Octavius, he never once confronted Harry about, oh, yeah, your dad and shit. He didn't do it. I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. That is absolutely ridiculous. There's no excuse. That is some bad writing. That is some of the worst writing in this movie in terms of its plot and structure. There's no excuse for that. And, he never, I'm sorry, but after the events of Spider-Man 2, what they should have had in the film is that after you defeat Doc Ock and Mary Jane is safe, I would have immediately swung back to Harry's house and go, let me explain what happened. But he doesn't do that because Peter just whatever. Just ignore your problems. And this happens in the movie. Out of sight, out of mind. Doesn't make any goddamn sense. It's so stupid. And so he sees, Harry, how you doing? Listen, we got to really talk about your dead dad. About your dad and shit. Doesn't mention a dad. We just got to talk about what happened. He's like, oh, yeah? Why don't you tell that to my father? Oh, that's right. You killed him. We can't involve him in the conversation. Fuck you, Peter. And he goes inside of his black limousine, driven by Bernard. We're going to talk about Bernard, Chad. I got some issues with fucking Bernard in this movie. Not Bernard. His name is Bernard, which is a weird name. No offense to your name is Bernard, but it's an odd name. And they drive away. And then he goes to see Mary Jane. And she's like, oh, Peter, how was I? Was I good? He's like, oh, Mary Jane, you were better than good. You were great. You said great. He goes, yeah, it's true. And he's like, did you get my flowers? She goes, of course I did, Peter. They're beautiful. Also, Harry gave me some too. And Harry, Peter's vase of flowers, very nice, very lovely. And Harry gave her this giant, massive mega vase of flowers and things from the fucking Amazon. He cut down half the forest in the Amazon and gave it to Mary Jane. Harry, we know you want to fuck her, okay? We know you're never going to get over that, all right? But still, you're trying too goddamn hard, all right? And so he's like, oh, okay. And then she asked him, so what's going on with you and Harry? You haven't talked to him in a year and a while. He goes, that's it. There's no he knows I'm Spider-Man. And this is the other thing that's weird. He doesn't tell her what happened between him and Harry. If I was dating this woman who I'm intending to marry and she knows I'm Spider-Man, I'm going to reveal to her, oh yeah, Harry's dad was the Green Goblin who kidnapped you in the first movie. Also, Harry thinks I killed the Green Goblin, killed his dad. I would tell the love of my life that, but he doesn't share this information with anyone. Even the person he obviously trusts most with his secret. Stupid. Absolutely, absolutely awful. So awful. And, she's all asking about, wasn't I good? And he's like, yeah, you're great and shit. We then transition And I told you it's gonna be a longer fucking review. We then transition to Harry's house, where you remember in Spider-Man 2 at the end of the movie where he discovers the secret attic that Norman Osborn built off screen with all the goblin shit. He's since taken that over and he's been doing iterations of the goblin suit. So we see the original mask. We see like a silver version of it. Silver version with like yellow, like orangey eyes, which, and I'll tell you right now, chat. And we see like the upgrades of the original Goblin Glider and what he's done. There was a lost opportunity. Obviously, I get you just don't want to do the same. You want him to be the Green Goblin. Because in the comics, Harry Osborn inherits the mantle of the Green Goblin, and he's just the Green Goblin. That's like aesthetically, he looks just like Norman did. And it's like, all right. They should have turned him in the Hobgoblin and maybe give him like an orange look or something and like a modified glider. But in this movie, it's really lame. They call him they're not called, because no one calls anyone, the only one who's called by their villainous name is the Sandman. They call him the Sandman. But, Venom's not called Venom. And this Harry is, in the credits, is listed as the new Goblin, which is really fucking lame. And he decided, like, listen, I'm not going to go with the Goblin Gargoyle Green Power Ranger suit. I'm going to go for, like, a snowboarder. X Games. Kids love X Games. I felt like this is a studio note. I'm very curious of the behind the scenes in regards to why Harry has the aesthetic of a snowboarder, skateboarder, X Games guy. That feels like a Sony executive was like, my kid loves X Games. Make him look like, one of those guys. It's like, that's fine because it's lame. His suit is just gray. His glider is literally a extreme goblin. That's exactly what he is. And he's a paintball player. He has a paintball mask. Good one, Austin. Yeah, definitely. It's just odd. And I'll say something positive about him in a second when we eventually get to that scene. And he comes out of the fucking fart chamber of the goblin farts, and he gets imbued with it. I guess he's crazy. Well, it's implied that he was crazy because of the reveal of Peter being Spider-Man, and fucking, William Dafoe's talking to him and shit. But I guess he perfected the goblin formula. So, hey, got that over your dad, man. If fucking Norman was going, it's cold and shit, in Spider-Man 1. So I guess Harry perfected the formula. And I guess he has his fortune still, even though he was bankrupt by the end of Spider-Man 2. Whatever. But he walks out of it, and, he's like, I'm goblin powered and shit. And he's going to go kill Peter in a bit. So that happens. Eventually, again, lost opportunity to have him as the Hobgoblin, get maybe like a silvery orange aesthetic, and not make him so Power Rangy like Tommy Oliver, Green Power Ranger from, like the first one. The lost opportunity is all I'm saying, chat. And they even make Hobgoblin Harry Osborn in the Ultimate Spider-Man comics, where he's more of like a Hulk mutant thing. Anyway, we then cut to Central Park, where Mary Jane Watson and Peter are smooching, having to sex in a giant fucking spider web. And they're looking at the stars and shit, and there's meteor showers and everything. And Peter, Peter's like, I love you, Mary Jane. She's like, I love you too, Peter. And doing all that shit. Meanwhile, off in the distance, chat, very close by, a fucking meteorite, and this is so lame, a fucking meteorite just lands in Central Park, and the symbiote is in it. It just comes out and goes, wow, this place sucks. And it kind of like, it just kind of crawls towards Peter's little moped, because apparently he can't afford like a car and shit in New York or whatever, Despite his life being great, despite being able to afford his rent and take his girlfriend to fancy fucking restaurants, he can't afford a vehicle, just a moped. And which is weird that the fact that they have the spiderweb in Central Park, like Central Park, I've been to Central Park many times, chat, and there's people in it constantly. And the fact that you can just have this open, he's not dressed as Spider-Man, he's dressed as regular Tobey Maguire after the play. Full suit and ties. Like, what's that fucking guy? What's that couple doing that spiderweb? Holy shit, that's Spider-Man. But no, it doesn't matter. But eventually, he takes her down and himself down. They get in the moped. And the symbiote attaches itself to the moped, and they drive away. Really lame introduction to the symbiote. Now, listen. Again, I am not a fan of Venom, of the symbiotes. I don't like Carnage, any of that shit. I just think, aesthetically, I love the way Venom looks. I love the black suit. I love just the all black and the white symbol on Spider-Man's chest. It looks really sleek. Really love the look of it. But I just don't. Venom is such a lame character. There's nothing to him. And like the original origin of Venom, which I understand. Look, they can't do that original origin where he goes to a fucking alien planet and he's like, oh, it's a costume machine. He gets this fucking black goo and he puts it on himself. He's like, oh, it's a costume. It's like, no, man, it's a fucking alien organism. And I get that. But I feel like you could have thought of something better than, oh yeah, it came from a meteor or crashed from space. It was just like, it's just lazy writing to me. Like, I've always loved the idea. It was introduced in Ultimate Spider-Man. And well, actually, no, it wasn't in elements of it were incorporated in the Spectacular Spider-Man animated series. But I like the idea that the Venom symbiote is made by humans, and it's used to help cancer patients control their adrenaline production. And I like that, and just mutated into like a monster, and it controls, it takes you over. They kind of have something like that in Spider-Man, the Spectacular Spider-Man series, to a degree. And I love that idea because I think that would make like Brock compelling, is that he literally is dying of cancer, and which makes you like, oh, I still feel bad for him. But when he has a symbiote, it turns his aggression up and he's like insane. Like that would be the tragedy of the character. I think that would be good, but they don't fucking do that. It's just black goo from space. Just black goo from space, chat. So lost opportunity in my opinion. Lost opportunity, chat. So, Black Knight, welcome to stream. Hope you're doing very well. Good to see you. Cheers and salute to you, my friend. Ultimate Universe Venom is dope. Yes, agreed. I agree. That is the best version of the character, in my opinion. I was like, okay. Again, not a fan in general, but I'm like, I like what you're doing here. There's cool elements, and you're making Eddie Brock compelling, and I empathize with him. I sympathize with his plight. He has cancer, and he's like, I need this to live, but it makes me evil. I get that, you know? Anyway, so after this shit, we then cut to another villain we ran all the villain introductions at this point, and we cut to Flint Marko, chat, played by Thomas Hayden Church, and they do him dirty because most of the movie he doesn't talk. He has very little dialogue. He says it really clunky and awkwardly, and I don't blame him. I blame the writing. I blame the direction. And he's in full prison orange garb regalia, running down a New York City sidewalk, and apparently no one's out there in the middle of New York City. I guess it's COVID times, right? And so he's going towards his apartment, goes up this fire escape, where he sees a little girl who has a ventilation machine on her nose, I guess a tubing, everything like that. Comes in there, looks at her like, oh, Penny, and like pets her and shit. Then he goes to like a dresser. He takes out the iconic green striped shirt from the comics. I mean, aesthetically, he looks like Flint Marko, Sandman for the comics. I mean, they're like, yeah, it's costume. Sandman's costume is like, I wear brown pants, a belt, and a green striped shirt. That's about it. And that's fine. And the thing is, like, I like Sam as a character from the comics, and it felt like Sam Raimi was trying to adapt this era of Sandman where Sandman originally started as a general, typical criminal. Like, I just want to rob banks. That's all. That's my personality. I'm just a robber. I'm just a thief. And there was a time in the comics where Sandman, I think, has like a near-death experience, and he's like, I'm not doing anything with my life. And he tries to reform. I actually own a lot of issues of this arc in Sandman where he gets out of prison, he's on parole, and he gets mental help. Like he sees like a psychiatrist. He goes back to school. It's like a reform villain arc. He becomes a superhero to a degree. He joins the Avengers at one point. It's like, this is interesting, but then they fucking make him a bad guy again. But it's like, this is really cool, and it felt like Raimi was making, like, he was doing a nod to that, but at the same time, like, what he writes for him, or what they write for him, it doesn't work. It flounders, it flops on its face, especially with the retconning, and we'll get to that fucking retconning in a second, chat, because Jesus Christ, when I heard he was cast as Shia LaBeouf, that's perfect. No, he looks like Flint Marko. I was like, oh, yeah, I agree with you. I was like, oh, yeah, he nails the look of the character, but they just don't give him anything to do. And other than, like, I'm not a bad person, I just love my daughter, I just have bad luck, that's it. That's his arc. And he doesn't really say anything for the rest of the movie. But he gets it, and then he's like, I need bread. And he's like, I need to get some bread. And he tears this entire loaf of bread in two. And then his wife comes in. I don't know the wife's name. Her name Mrs. Marko. She's like, what the fuck are you doing in here? He's like, I just came to see my daughter. It's like, you fucking albatross on his Flint. You piece of shit. You can't stay here. He's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She's like, yeah, you sorry? I'm sorry too, all right? Here, old botch, all these fucking excuses. Oh, you sorry. Heard about you fucking robbing guys with, robbing people with frosted tips. The burglar from the original movie, or the robber from the original movie. You killing some old man. And Flint's like, it's not true. That's not what happened. She's like, you know what, Flint? I know the truth. I stare at it every fucking day. It's the truth that came out of between these thick, white, pale thighs of mine. I'm front pooped around. And we see Penny who's like, Father. She has a little trouble breathing, chat. And she comes out there because she was sleeping before, but she hears, you know, her dad and mom arguing. And he's like, Penny, she's like, Daddy, are you okay? You gonna stay with us? He goes, no, Penny, but I'm going to get lots and lots of money so I can cure you. His fucking plan to steal, like, it's just like it's like a child's interpretation. If I just get a lot of money, I can pay for my surgery, even though it's like all this money is stolen. And you're just going to pay out of it like, just with cash. You're just going to fucking sling it at these goddamn medical professionals. They're like, where'd this money come from? The government's going to be like, where'd this money come from? They're going to find out. Okay? And so he's like, yeah, I'm just going to steal a whole bunch of money and coins and shit. It's like, you can't do that. But he's like, I'm going to steal a whole bunch of money. I'm going to get a whole bunch of money. I'm going to cure her. She's like, I love you, Daddy. And she gives her like this locket with a picture of herself. It's like, all right, little, you know, little narcissistic there, Penny. Marco, but whatever. He takes it and he puts it on and shit. And he leaves. She's like, get the hell out of here. And she's smoking cigarettes. She's got like, I've been smoking cigarettes for 45 fucking years. Ever since I came out of the womb. And so he leaves because the police are coming because they're obviously going to go to his wife and daughter's residence because that's, you know, because okay, he fucking escaped somehow. We don't like explanation how he escaped. Make it sound like the movie Catch That Kid. Take all my monies, doctor. It's just like, that's not how it works. That's not how life works. It's so fucking funny. It's a lot of marked money anyway. Exactly. The money, yeah. Anyway, so after that, and we get another weird fucking scene where after Tobey Maguire drops off Mary Jane her apartment or whatever, because they're not living together at this point, which is fine. Drops her off. He then goes to Aunt May's apartment because she sold the house in the original movie. So, you know, she's not making breakfast sausage anymore at this point. You know, not making an infinite amount of Jimmy Dean chat, killing Uncle Ben with cholesterol chat. But Toby then decides, like, okay, even though it's literally 2 a.m, I'm going to go see Aunt May, my elderly, frail mother figure. And he goes to her apartment, chat, opens the fucking door, and she's like, Peter? Is that you, Peter? Aunt May, it's me. I have something to tell you. What is it, Peter? I'm so tired. Aunt May, I am going to marry Mary Jane. Oh, Peter, everybody knows you love Mary Jane, Peter. She hugs him and shit. And then they bring him inside. You need tea, Peter. And in this fucking scene, chat, she's making tea and cookies and Jimmy Dean sausages on her little countertop. Behind her, there is a clock. On that clock, chat, I nailed it. 2:11 a.m. in the morning. Why would you fucking wake your elderly aunt who is on death's door? She is one supervillain away from a heart attack. Why would you wake her up at that time? It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And she's like, let me tell you, Peter, I know you love Mary Jane, but you need to be ready for it. Are you ready to put yourself before your wife? He goes, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, sure. Yeah. He's like, let me tell you something. Uncle Ben, he takes off this ring. Uncle Ben gave me this ring right here. And you know what I said to him when he proposed to me? He goes, what? You said yes. He goes, I told him, fuck no. I said no, Peter. And he's like, wait, what? It's because we weren't ready. We were young. We were having a lot of fun, Peter. And let me tell you, we were fucking. We were fucking a lot. But we weren't ready for marriage and that responsibility. He asked me a second time. I told him no.
I told him, no, Peter. But then, years down the road, proposed to me again, but he did it right. We went to the beach.
Random beach, no idea where it is. I don't know, like the beach in New York, where it's covered in fucking rocks and plastic bottles and clamshells and shit, and the water is like brown. I'm like, all right, Mary, okay, fucking Aunt May, sure. Went there, and he looks so good in his bathing suit, Peter. Oh, my Lord. And I didn't look half bad either back in the day. My breasts, Peter, were so perky. They didn't hang down to my knees like they do now, Peter. They were perky. I didn't need a bra, Peter. And we swam to the island. The island, which island? Doesn't matter. We swam to the island, and we found ourselves a tree. And we fucked, Peter. We fucked all afternoon. And when the sun was setting, and we were smelling all fuck fumes, Peter, he proposed to me. He brought out the ring. And that's when I knew. That's when I knew I would marry this man. And I said yes. And we would have been together 50 years. Unless you didn't get him fucking killed. There's a great scene where she says, we would have been married 50 years this year had it not been for you. It's like, are you kidding me? And he's like, and Peter's like, Jesus, Aunt May, I'm sorry. I told you about it in the second movie. Stop holding over my fucking head. And she's like, well, Peter, I want to give you something. The same thing that Uncle Ben gave to me. And she takes the ring, and she goes, here, give it to Mary Jane if you're ready. He's like, Aunt May, I can't take it. You're going to take it, Peter. It's like, gets all belligerent and shit. You're going to fucking take it. He goes, okay, Aunt May, okay. And he fucking takes the ring, and she's like, I'm going to have some tea. She drinks her tea, because I think Rosemary Harris is British, I want to say. Takes her tea with milk and cream, Chad. I was like, I noticed that. I saw that. Usually, like a lot of Americans, we just take our tea as it is. But I've had tea with like milk and cream, and she just tastes good. It's fine. It's fine. I know. She's doing the British thing. She played her hand. I know you, Aunt May, Rosemary Harris. And so after that scene, we then cut, and it's like 3 fucking in the morning or something. Aunt May finally went back to bed because she needs to, chat. I mean, she's exhausted talking about all the fucking she used to do with Uncle Ben on the beach and the island, whatever that is. But, Peter, he's on his little fucking moped, chat. And right behind him, the extreme goblin comes up. Peter's like, what the fuck? And he's grabbed by Harry Osborn, chat. Boo! And it's like, whoa. It's like, all right, first big real action scene in the movie. Coming at him, grabs him and shit. And they're fighting in midair. Peter's taken off guard by this, even though he's a spider sense. People say, like, why didn't his spider sense activate? I watched the movie again, and Peter, you see an expression on his face right before the goblin's behind him. Peter goes, wait a minute, what? But you don't see it because it happened so quick, but I saw it. So I'm not going to criticize the movie for that. His spider sense did work. They just didn't really showcase it there. But we he's like, wait, what? Something's going on. So he's grabbed, and Harry just starts fucking throwing him around the buildings and then throws him into this brick wall. Boom! He's hit like this. And then Peter's like... fucking shit. And then Harry comes down his stupid fucking snowboard, and his extreme snowboarding goggles kind of like go inside of his collar. And Peter's like, Harry's like, you knew this day was coming, Peter. And he tries to hit him and shit, but his fucking, he has like these blades on his arms now. He's got like these Batman-esque like blades and shit. And he tries to punch through the brick wall, but Peter moves. And Peter's like, listen, Harry, I know I should have probably talked to you like a year ago about your dad and shit, but I didn't kill your dad. Your dad killed himself. He was stabbed by his own glider. Bernard can back me up because apparently he knows everything. He's Captain Exposition, and he can explain that I'm Spider-Man, I'm a good guy, and your dad was the Green Goblin. And he's like, shut up! And, he fucking rips, like, the brick wall down. And the thing is, I remember, like, in the theater watching this years ago, and even though I don't like how the Goblin looks and shit, I remember, like, there's some cool things here. Some of the choreography, I like this battle, but listen, it's 2007, chat, and it's not aged very well. It just... both Tobey Maguire, because Tobey Maguire's not in his Spider-Man suit. He's just in like a shirt and tie. And, James Franco He's in his goblin gear, doesn't look great, but they're very rubbery, like themselves, very rubbery, and it's just green screen, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good when it's not great. Like I like some of the action scenes. We'll get to it where Harry falls, he grabs him, and there's like a scene when like Peter the ring falls out of his pocket and he tries to grab it each time, and he's fighting Harry. They go back and forth. Harry throws him through a fucking skyscraper window, and it's cool. Like there's some interesting ideas here. It just because of it's been so long. It's been 15 years now. It looks dated, which happens with CGI. Chat. Practical effects age better. CGI does not. So again, I'm not really holding against the movie, but it's just obvious. So he holds him. He's trying to grab the ring and shit. And eventually, Peter grabs it. He lands on a building. He's like, I got the ring. And fucking Harry's like, oh, I hate you. And then we get and this is a cool scene. Again, green screen looks rough, but where Peter is web swinging between these two alleyways in these buildings, and Harry's like, okay, I'll give him this. There's practicality at the board because Norman wouldn't be able to get the Goblin Glider through this very thin alleyway, which I don't think alleyways can't actually be that thin in New York because it's a fucking fire hazard. If New York was built that way, the entire city would have burned down like 50 years ago, but whatever. I'll allow it. It's interesting how they use the board here. I'll give it that. And they're falling through here, and Harry, he like activates. I like this. The goblin bombs. I love the goblin bomb. I really actually do like the goblin bombs and how they're used in the movie. Activates one, throws it out, and it's the goblin batarang thing, and it goes right at Peter. And Peter actually has a good line. He goes, I fucking hate those things. It's like it's good. It's a good callback. I'm like, that's a good callback and shit. And so it detaches. It splits into like 3 more, and they're chasing after Toby, and he turns around and he starts webbing some of them up, but he uses this one last webbing to attach to it, and then flings it back at Harry, and he jumps over Harry. Harry gets hit by all these batarangs. One like impales itself in his chest and stuff, and he there's this explosion. He recovers. He's like, huh? He's looking around, and Peter has set up a tripwire with his webbing in the alleyway, and Harry can't react fast enough, and Harry goes boing. There is a boing. He gets knocked off his Goblin Glider, and boop, bop, beep, boop, boop, hits his head, I think, on every single object in that alleyway, chat. Air duct, fire escape, brick walls, dumpster, and then until he finally lands in a fucking puddle of his own mess in the alleyway, chat. And so first engagement with Spider-Man did not end well. Fucking Peter, he goes down there, and he's like, Harry? He's like, says his name, and then he goes down to him, and he like sees that there's breath, he's not breathing and shit, rips open the goblin suit, the extreme goblin suit, and starts, trying to resuscitate him, Chad, breathing the sweet air of life back into his goblin lungs and everything. I guess he gets him breathing. He gets him to a hospital, chat, where the hospital then is trying to resuscitate him, and Peter is waiting in the hospital. Meanwhile, Chad, we're introduced to James Cromwell as Captain George Stacy, who gets absolutely nothing to do in this movie. All he does is exposition. He does not get a dramatic scene with Peter. I don't think him and Peter actually no, they do. They interact with each other, but it's not really compelling. It's mostly just for exposition and retconning purposes. Thank you for the by the way, the beach Aunt May and Uncle Ben went to, the beach that makes you old. That's why they're so fucking old all the time. They've been old for 50 fucking years. I get it. But they totally waste James Cromwell in this movie, which is great. He's a fantastic actor. And Captain Stacy's a really important character in Spider-Man's history. He's the one that figures out who Spider-Man is, Peter Parker. And there's this great scene in the original comics where Doc Ock kills him. And while Captain Stacy is dying in the arms of Spider-Man, he tells Spider-Man, please, son, take care of Gwen. Take care of Gwen, Peter. She loves you. And then he dies. And he's like, oh my fucking God. And then, of course, we know what happens with Gwen Stacy in the comics when she's killed by the Green Goblin. It's like, when Peter I mean, Good Goblin kills her, but, snaps her neck when he tries to get her with the webbing. It's like, oh, but not in any capacity that good. He's just exposition here. And so he's walking in a hallway, and as some guy comes up, he's like, sir, we've located Flint Marco. He's in the marshes. He's in the New York City marshes. I'm like, what? Okay, we have bogs. He's in the swamps of New York. Sure. And so then we cut to Flint Marco, who is being pursued by a bunch of cops with, German Shepherds. Like, I'm sorry, they would have sicked those fucking dogs in him already. They would have torn his thick ass up, but sure, okay. We're going to give him a head start, 5-minute head start. He then crawls over. He comes across a very big fence. He climbs up the fence, chat. The cops are about him. They're like, there's a fence. We can't get up the fence. They can't, cops, as we all know, chat, policemen, policewomen, police officers cannot climb fences. That is a fact. That's not in their training. We do not do that. It's like, all right, fair enough. So they're like, oh, what are we going to do? And so Flint Marcos, he keeps running, chat, and he trips into a hole. He gets up, and he's surrounded by sand, and he sees that it's like there's metallic walls all around him, chat, and this big fucking apparatus starts coming down and starts spinning. He's like, what the fuck? We then cut to a laboratory where apparently this organization, military branch, is conducting molecular sand experiments on sand and shit. I was like, okay, whatever. And, all one of the scientists is saying, like, hey, we noticed a change in the weight in the sand. We believe there is a foreign element there. And the one guy says, it's just a bird. Whatever. It'll fly away. I'm sorry, but it's like, no. You can stop the experiment before you turn it on, before you press a button. Because what if it is a bird? You're going to have these random fucking sandbirds everywhere that suddenly, like, dissipate and turn to sand and fly away. It's like, no, that's a problem. That's a problem. Man, they are very lax about their safety guidelines, chat, in the bogs and marshes of New York City. And they're like, fuck it. And you could tell the weight difference. I'm sorry. But it's like, if you notice a weight difference in the sand, it's like there's a difference between the clearly 200-pound muscular Thomas Hayden Church and a bird and a fucking New York pigeon. But whatever. It's like, it's a bird, it'll fly away. And so they start the machine up, and Flint Marco's like, oh, shit, I got to get out of here. And he starts running, but boing, he gets bonked by the apparatus because it's spinning too fast. And then we go inside of Thomas Hayden Church. We are inside of him. And we see these little molecular sand particles going beep, 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 beep. And they start interacting with his body and changing it into sand. We then cut out of his body, and he's like, as he slowly does. It's kind of fucking horrifying. And this is where the effects are pretty, it's good. And back in 2007, I was like, this is amazing. We'll get to the big scene later on with the Sandman, because it's, a lot of things about that work really well and hold up well. I was like, oh, that doesn't hold up, but it does. But his fucking body starts dissolving until eventually he's just sand. He's gone. The police manage to either get over the fence or get to a fence door, and they get to the hole where he's gone. He's gone. They're like, well, out of sight, out of mind. Let's go back to the office and shit. Eventually, chat, we cut to one of my favorite new characters in the movie, and he shall now be called Derpy Harry. I absolutely adore Derpy Harry, chat. He is the best. Bernard, I need some food. Food, sir. Just bring me some food, Bernard. I love him so much, chat. He's an innocent little, very slow baby boy. Toby is sitting there, Peter's sitting in the hospital, and a doctor comes over and he goes, hey, listen, thanks for bringing your friend in there. He almost would have died without you. And he goes, oh, we got to help my friends, right? He goes, listen, he's a little derpy now. He is suffering from short-term memory loss. And Peter's like, oh, really? Like, how far back? And the guy goes, about 2 movies worth of short-term memory. So he won't remember anything from the last 2 Spider-Man films. And he goes, oh, great. That's, oh, wow. Convenient for me and the story in the movie. He goes, yeah, want to go see your friend? Hell yeah, I do. He goes over there, and Harry is on the bed going, hey, Peter. Why does he act this way? It's weird. It's like, okay, I get you a short-term memory, but like, Harry suddenly has the mind of a child. He's just like, everything's an adventure. Cotton candy, popcorn, food, basketball. Why does he act this way? It is bizarre. But the thing is, chat, James Franco's Harry Osborn is a different character in every movie. Like the original Spider-Man, he's the disappointing son. He's the one who's neglected by the father. He's that character. He's caught in between Peter and his dad, and he doesn't know what to be. In Spider-Man 2, he's like this, even though he somehow acquired a publicly traded company in Oscorp, and he's like this, oh, Nobel Prize out of Nobel Prize, even though he's like 20 years old, and, you know, he has this total, like, Instagram personality and shit, like, I'm a big business tycoon now, and here he has the mom. It's just very weird how he's something radically different in each movie. I don't think they really don't really know to do Harry, I think, in any of the films. Chris, I think there's time where Derpy Harry kind of reminds me of my older brother. Sorry, Bob. Doesn't help. They look pretty similar. Oh, no. This is where James Franco started using the Franco face and never stopped. He's like, so good. We'll get to it. It's just odd what they do with him here. And he's like, hey, buddy. And look, the first line I was like, hey, buddy. Hey, pal. And he's like, hey, Harry. Hi, how you doing? He goes, I heard I was in an accident. Was I in an accident? He goes, yeah, man, you were in a car accident. He goes, oh, is my dad dead? And he goes, yeah. And he, like, Toby doesn't, like, Peter doesn't, he's like, he doesn't really say anything. And then Mary Jane Watson shows up. And he's like, hey, MJ. Hi. He goes, hey, are you okay? He's like, I was in an accident. Yeah, they told me you were in an accident. That's right. And they're like, oh, it's so good to have you here, guys, my friends, my family. And then this nurse comes in. She's like, okay, I got to ask you guys to, scooch on out. She used the word scooch. I know that face. Boop. We'll get to it. But she's like, you got to scooch on out. And Toby's like, well, Harry's like, well, you guys will come back tomorrow, right? We'll, like, hang out and stuff, just like the old days. And fucking MJ and Peter are like, yeah, man, yeah. And they leave, and the nurse goes, those are some pretty good friends. And Harry's like, those are my best friends. I fucking love it. He's adorable now. And then eventually MJ's like, oh, Peter, that's like, that's great. That's, great. You and Harry are talking. I mean, what was that problem between the two of you? And Peter's like, no problem. You tell her. There's so much of this movie could be solved with you just fucking talk to people. Just talk to people, Peter, whatever. Anyway, that scene ends. And we cut back. Now we get to one of the best scenes in the movie. I'm going to praise this. Maybe it's a little dangerous CGI, but the idea of it, the emotion from it, it's felt, and it works really well. And we're at the birth of the Sandman, chat. The Sandman is born. We cut to the facility, and they shut it down, apparently, because they fucking erased a man inside of the sand apparatus. And we then start to notice, like, all these little grains of sand start to move and spiral, and they're coming together to form this object. And we realize, chat, it's forming a torso, it's forming arms, and we get this music, and Danny Elfman is doing the score, and I'm like, this music, it's beautiful. I'm like, this sounds very familiar. And chat, he samples his score here from himself. He literally copies himself, which Elfman, you could tell Danny Elfman's like, oh, that's a Danny Elfman score. You could tell because it has that kind of like whimsical, it's very Tim Burton-esque, which, I know, which is, Tim Burton and Danny Elfman go hand in hand. But chat, I realize where he samples a lot of the Sandman theme from, or at least this Sandman theme, the birth of the Sandman. Because the other Sandman theme is just like tubas and shit, ba-rump, ba-rump-bum, which I'm not a big fan. But this one, This theme, when it's playing, when he's being reborn, he samples the birth of Catwoman from Batman Returns. Remember when Selena, when you have Michelle Pfeiffer coming back to her apartment? It's a great scene. It's a great. I'm gonna definitely do a review of Batman Returns someday. I want to. Thank you, because Danny Elfman didn't score this. Him and Raimi had a falling out. Oh, during 2, and he didn't come back. Chris Young did the music. Oh, he was making for Hellraiser. well. So Chris fucking Young stole this from Danny Elfman. He stole this from Danny Elfman, where he samples music. He samples music from Batman Returns where Selina is destroying her apartment. Chat that. Ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da. It's the same fucking music. The music plot thickens, Rockaberty. And he destroys her apartment and shit. And it's the same thing. It's like, I've heard this before. But despite that, like, it still works. It still works with the scene itself. But when he's coming together and shit, and he's like, he takes his first breath as the Sandman, and he looks, and like, the CGI is a little dated at this point, but it's the best. I think it was the most expensive shot in the movie, and it makes sense because like every individual particle of sand is CGI, and that's a lot of fucking work to build. So I was like, I get that. I totally understand that, and it works, and it works very well. It's a very good shot in the movie. But he notices the locket, a little far away from him, with Penny, and he goes to reach for it. Chad, he puts his hand on it, but the locket goes right through his hand, and he concentrates until he forms like a more articulate hand, because he's got like a Muppet hand. He got like a meat patty sand meat hand, and he forms more articulate fingers, and he picks it up, and he takes it, and he looks at it, Chad, and he's concentrating. He's like, for fucking Penny. And eventually, he starts to take his first steps. And this is where you start to hear the fucking Catwoman theme from Batman Returns come in here, chat. Ba-da-na-na, ba-na-na, all that shit. And he forms himself, forms legs. He takes his first step, and part of him, like, comes apart, like, from his leg and his thigh and shit. But he, like, absorbs sand from below him, and it forms up, and he starts kind of walking like this. And then we get the... Bom, 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 bom. We get the tubas, which is what we hear for Sam for the rest of the movie. So I'm like, fuck, no, that Batman Returns Catwoman Sandman theme is much better. Now we get the tuba fucking brigade for Sandman. I'm like, I don't like this. It just is like, because it's like, rump, bump, and it's like, I don't like that. But he starts taking these steps, and he's like, oh, shit, New York, here comes the Sandman. And it's like, all right, but still, overall, really, really beautiful scene. Sound like Danny Elfman, even though you're not Danny Elfman. That's pretty much what happened. I'm pretty sure Batman Returns is on the list, and I think 89 maybe is, or will definitely be. I'll definitely do both of those back to back someday. But just very funny. And so then he goes to New York, chat. Eventually, we cut to Tobey Maguire's apartment, and he's a sad sack in the apartment. No, not really sad. He's saying, my life is great. But MJ comes a-knocking, and MJ, she's like, Peter, I have a problem, and I need you to help me right now, okay? And he's like, oh, shit, yeah, sure, MJ. He's like, I got a bad review. I got a bad review for the play, the musical I was in. He's like, well, it's just one bad review. It's one critic. I mean, that's what they do, It's okay. I thought you were great. He gets my voice. And then she reads the review. He's like, Mary Jane Watson, a pretty face and a good actress, but her fucking voice can't carry past the first row. And Peter's like, listen, that's just one person saying that. I mean, look. As Spider-Man, I've had a lot of critics, Mary Jane, and a lot of people have, attacked me in the press. Believe me, I know. She's like, Peter, listen, it's not about you being Spider-Man. Like, being Spider-Man is so easy. And I'm like, you shut the fuck up. No, it is not. I'm sorry, but it's just not Mary Jane. It's like, this one, I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me at this point. And he's like, all right, okay, I'm touching a nerve because she's very sensitive about this stuff. But then they hear, there's the like fucking sirens and shit outside. And he's like, listen, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna get you dinner. We're gonna have a great fucking time. It'll be great. Okay, it's just one critic. Don't worry about it. And he leaves. He gets in. She's like, whatever. Just go and I don't know, save people, I guess. Be a superhero. Be a protector of the city. Okay, I mean, I need you right here. I need to shoulder the crying right now, Peter, because a critic said something bad about me. And he's like, okay. And he leaves. And then we see the symbiote like, I need a body. I need a body. Just fucking crawling around the room and shit. And it's like, that's gross. And she's like, is that a symbiote? He's like, I'm not a symbiote. Get out of here. And so eventually then we cut to the crane. Shall we cut to the crane? Also, there's another... I forgot about this. We are introduced in the opening montage where my life's great. Everything's so much fun. We do see Gwen Stacy, who's taking advanced physics with Peter's being taught by Dr. Connors and shit. And it's weird to me because I don't really understand Gwen Stacy's, like, the purpose she has. They don't do anything with Bryce Dallas Howard, really. She's just there to be the other girl next to Mary Jane. I guess she's a plot device. She's used in scenes. She's a prop. She's a prop in the movie, Chet. She's used as a prop as an action scene, and she's used as a prop for certain romance things that happen later on in the film. And she's, which is funny because Mary Jane is used like a prop for many of the other movies at this point, or at least the Raimi films. And early in the film, she's taken, for whatever reason, she's a model and she's advanced physics, but she doesn't know shit about physics. She's like, I'm confused. And she answers the question, but then later on, you learn that Peter is tutoring her because she doesn't know what she's doing. And it's like, why are you taking this class? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And she answers the question. And what's weird about it is, though, he's taking an advanced physics class in college in New York State. I think it's like NYSU. And, he's being bullied in the class. Like, this is a fucking... People are like... They're spitting spitballs. And they're blowing spitballs at him. They're, like, reflecting light in his eyes. So he's like, what the fuck? You are an adult. Why are you bullying? It's like, that's just weird. I'm like, I get Peter was bullied in high school. I totally understand that. But, like, he's bullied to such a degree, like, is it now even in college? Where in advanced physics are the nerds bullying Peter? Weird. Very weird, but okay, you gotta go with it. I just want to make that aside. So that's where we're first introduced to Gwen Stacy. But we then cut to a crane, which is currently out of control in New York City. This guy's like, oh, the fucking crane's out of control. And the entire NYPD shows up with James Cromwell's Gwen Stacy like, I'm here now, too. What's going on? And there's like a fucking crane. The crane's out of control. Oh, boy. We then cut to Gwen Stacy, who apparently is, I mean, I get it. Hey, proactive. She's a beautiful woman. Bryce Dallas Howard looks gorgeous in this movie, no doubt about it. But she's in a modeling shoot right now. I guess, it's kind of like, got like an Office Space vibe. It's like, wouldn't you like a slutty secretary? It's kind of like slutty secretary Office Space kind of shoot. And she's like putting the bazookas out there and shit. She has the other two ladies right next to her. And they got the one photographer who's like, ugh, who put that crane in my shot? It keeps getting closer. And then they all turn around, the crane goes right through the fucking windows and shit, right through the skyscraper. And they're like, ah! And they're all freaking out and shit. Gwen Stacy. I'll give Bryce Dallas Howard this, which is crazy. This is like one of her, I want to say this is one of her first big roles. But I think this is one of the first ones where she put herself out there, I want to say. Maybe she did other stuff beforehand, but this was, I think, like the first time that I became aware of Bryce Dallas Howard as an actress. She might have been other things, but I'm just saying, like, for myself. But what's interesting is when she got the role of Gwen Stacy, and when she was shooting this, and she did all of her own action scenes. She did all of her own stunts. And this is like the big stunt in the movie for her, right here. She learned apparently that she was like 6 weeks pregnant at the time, and so she's doing all these scenes while preggo. So, she was in the village. That's right. She was in the village. I totally forgot about that. You're right. She was in the village. You're right. There you go. Thank you, Batboy. This is the other big movie, I guess, she was in. But, she saves one of the people that she was with. And at that point, she's like, are you doing okay? And she's like, yeah. Oh, no, the crane's coming back. And the crane comes back and destroys more of the fucking building. And she starts falling the edge and going, Ew! And she's like, holding on for dear fucking life, chat, like this. And, at that point, we cut down. The James Cromwell is looking up at the crane and shit. And then we're introduced to Eddie Brock Jr., chat. Edward Brock Jr. Thinkers of the 5 biddies. Most of the plays came as her dad's movie, and then she did Village Lady. Gotcha. I'm Night Shyamalan in films. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, because the year before she did Lady in the Water. That's right. Mm-hmm. There you go. So that was like the first 3 big movies that she did. Fair enough. Thank you for the 5 biddies, by the way. But then we're now introduced, chat, to Edward Brock Jr., played by Topher Grace. And he's pretty much like Sam Raimi's interpretation of Eddie Brock. Because in the comics, like the original Eddie Brock, he's a nothing character. Like, the reason why he hates Spider-Man is because he faked a news story. Because he's a journalist. He's a photojournalist like Peter. He made up facts about a story. And Spider-Man exposed him for being a fraud. And he's like, I hate Spider-Man. And He got the symbiote, and that's it. That's his origin story. Lame. Really lame. In this movie, it's kind of the same thing, except Eddie Brock is just, he's really weird and stalkery and cringe. He's like, I like the idea that Sam Raimi had for him, but it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. He just comes off as just kind of annoying to me. But I like the idea. He's just a creep right off the bat. He's just a bad person right off the bat. You know, but he shows up there and he's like, hey, Captain Stacy, I'm taking pictures of the Bugle. And he's like, what, who are you? I'm freelance journalist Eddie Brock. Here we go. And he starts like taking these pictures and he zooms in on this girl. He's like, there's a girl up there. Oh my God, it's Gwen. It's Gwen Stacy. She's like, my daughter? What's my daughter doing in an office building? She told me she had a modeling job. Also, I'm dating your daughter. It's like, that's not, I wouldn't really drop, I mean, it's a funny line. I wouldn't drop that on that man right there. He's a weasel. He is a weasel. He's a little weasel. Agreed, Luke the Boss. He's a little weasel. Agreed. Firewolf, hi, Firewolf. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing very evil Eric Foreman. The thing is, I'll say this, Kaz family, actually great you brought up Eric Foreman from That 70s Show, which brought him the prominence, chat. A number of actors in that show brought the prominence from it. I could have seen him as Peter Parker. Like an Eric Foreman type of character. You're like, hell yeah. I think he would have made, like, I'm not saying like he's going to play Peter, how he plays Eddie Brock in this movie, but how he is in That 70s Show, like, yeah. I think that would have been pretty good casting for Peter Parker. It would have helped that he played pretty much like a high school student for most of his career in that TV show. I was like, yeah. I could definitely see that. I personally think that would have worked. He's not even, I know he says that, but he's not, because he's just creepy as hell. Thank you, Christian. I'll say this for Tover, unlike the other actor who played Eddie Brock in the movie. I understand. You can understand what he's saying. I mean, turn on the gun. So yes, I can understand all of his dialogue. I will give him that. I can see it. Yeah. Like, listen, yeah. I'm gonna shit on him later in the movie. Not so much the actor, just his performance in general, the writing and direction. They don't do him any favors. I'll tell you that much. But I think he could have made a good Peter Parker, Spider-Man. You know, in another time, he could have done a good job. Another place. But then everyone's like, oh no, Gwen is fucked. But everyone's like, look, it's Spider-Man. And we get a pretty cool scene of, you know, because Gwen's like, ah. She starts fucking falling, chat. By the way, that crane operator, he fucking died. He's dead. Spider-Man didn't save his fat ass. He's like, sir, you're fat, you're ugly, and you're not Gwen Stacy, okay? And so, fat crane operator, dead. Whole thing starts coming down. He's webbing shit up and stuff. He saves Gwen Stacy. He drops her off. And she's like, oh my God, Spider-Man. Thank you. And he's like, oh, just another day's work for your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Bye, everybody. And he fucking swings off, chat. Luke, the boss, like 2 minutes, to be honest. I think that is what Sammy was going for, because him and Toby have a certain building one. Yeah, that's why he casted. I understand why I understand his thinking. I want the Spider-Man doppelganger equivalent villain. Basically, it's the hero, except he's wearing a black suit, to be like him in a way, but be the evil version of him. Like, I get what he was going for. I understand it. It just didn't work. Peter the douchebag, sure. I totally get it. But they fucking save him and stuff. It's like, oh boy, fantastic. Fantastic. And he's like, are you okay, Gwen? She's like, I'm okay, Eddie. Everything, are you girls okay? We're okay. Fantastic. Eventually, chat, we cut to the Daily Bugle, chat. The paper's been suffering a bit due to their negative coverage of Spider-Man for many years. It's caused a backlash against the paper. And the New York Post, the Times, every fucking newspaper in America is outselling the Bugle. And, you know, fucking Ted Raimi, Sam Raimi's little brother, is trying to think of a way to get those papers. Like, the Daily Bugle, it's new, it's wow, it's kazow, and bullshit, whatever it is. And J.K. Simmons, listen, he gets the least amount of screen time in this movie, I think, compared to Spider-Man 1 and 2, but it's still really funny. Or he's just sitting there looking at Ted Raimi, his assistant, who's been in the previous films and shit, just like, you're a fucking idiot. But there's a great gag where they have Elizabeth Banks, who's still Betty Brant. Chat. People forget, like people say, wait, Elizabeth Banks was in Spider-Man? Yeah, she played Betty Brant. There's a fucking hot scene between her and Tobey Maguire. I mean, it's cringy, but at the same time, like, yeah, I can see these two fucking. I can see it happening, chat. But apparently they installed a buzzer on JJ's desk, and so Betty keeps pressing this button, and the whole thing goes. And it keeps freaking J.K. Simmons out, where she fucking buzzes him, and he's like, "Your wife told you to take your pills." He goes, "Got it." He reaches for one, and goes, "Not that one," because she could see right outside his window, and he goes to the second pill box and goes, "Not that one." He goes, "That one." She goes, "Ha, God." He's like, "Be sure to take it with water." He's like, "Fucking Christ." It's really good. It's great. That's like one of the big humorous moments that works for me personally. Eventually, Eddie Brock, he goes up to, he comes to the Daily Bugle. He goes to Betty's desk, and he's like, "Hey, Betty, Fofani, but Betty," and she's like, "Hi, Eddie." He's like, "Hey, beautiful, you're smelling good today." Listen, if you're talking to a woman in a professional setting and you're like, trying to sell pictures to her boss, not a great opening line to, first of all, go Betty, Fofani, whatever that bullshit, and then go, "Hey, beautiful, you smell good." Really creepy, really fucking creepy at that point. And he goes, "What are you wearing?" She goes, "It's called Go Away," which I thought was great. That's such a reference. He's just so cringy and so creepy. And she goes, "What the hell?" And she smells him, and apparently he's wearing something. And so it's a weird musk. It's like a weird fucking wet dog musk. And it's like, ugh. You smell wet dog. You're like, it's not pleasant. And she's like, "What the fuck is that?" He goes, it's wet dog musk. It sends the ladies' nether regions a quiver." And it's like, oh. And so, like, someone walks out of the fucking office, and he just goes into JJ's office. He's like, "Hey, and he goes in there, he goes, "Hey, Mr. Jameson, I got you some pictures of Spider-Man, the crane axe." And he goes, "Who the fuck are you?" And he goes, "Eddie Brock Jr., sir. Listen, I just want to say, it's an honor to properly establish a relationship with such an upstanding paper." Like, and he's just fucking brown nosing, chat. He's just, he's just indulging JJ, and he's like, "Bronson, you got me some." He's like, "My name's Brock, sir." He's like, "Yeah, Brady Braun, whatever your name." He looks at the pictures and shit. Peter eventually comes in. And Betty's like, "Hey, listen, Pete, competition came in there, Eddie Brock." And he's like, "Who is that?" Someone who, JJ's taking pictures from. Which is weird, though, because it's implied that Eddie just started working for the Bugle, but we hear a mention, at least of a character named Eddie in Spider-Man 1, which we assume is Eddie Brock. There's a line in the movie where I think JJ's asking about, he's because the Bugle wants pictures of Spider-Man. And Robertson says, "We have our best guy on it, Eddie. He's trying to get pictures." And you assume it's Eddie Brock, but I guess it's not. It's just a throwaway line, maybe. But again, it's retcon. They retcon a lot of shit. We're going to get to a lot of it in a bit, chat. But Peter, he goes in there. And the thing is, Eddie's still talking to JJ, and he's like, "At the end of the day, obviously I don't want to be freelance forever. I really would like a staff job in the newspaper." He's like, "Oh, we just got a fucking new staff position. Johnson. Yeah, he just retired." He's like, and Robbie's like, "You fired him, sir." He's like, whatever, same difference." And he's like, "You want the job?" And he's like, and fucking Toby walks in. Peter's like, "Hey, I've been selling you pictures for 2, possibly 3 years. I mean, if anything, I think I would qualify for the job." And JJ's like, I can't tell the difference between the two of you. I don't understand." And he's like, "Let me see your pictures." And fucking Topher Grace, Eddie's like, "How'd you get these pictures? I didn't see you there." And he goes, "Oh, I had to, I just had a good position. Had to climb a flagpole and everything." And he's like, "The fuck are you talking about?" And he's like, "There's no." And JJ's like, "What pictures were best?" And Robbie's like, "Well, we have a relationship with Peter." He goes, "Yeah, but I like Bronson's pictures right here." And he's like, "Here, put it on page 1 and shit. Spider-Man saves people from Crane." Because he hates the idea of Spider-Man being like a good person. And then Eddie is just acting like a fucking dick to Peter. Just like, "Well, listen, obviously there's a lot to pictures, not just flagpoles. There's lighting, there's composition, there's drama." It's like all that shit. And he's like, "Sure, I'll give you $50 for him." And he goes, "Sold, sir." And Peter's like, but me." It's like, "Too bad." And it's like, Peter's life is falling apart. And so after that, just Eddie just being cringy as fuck. We then transition, like, okay, after that little negative interaction, we then transition to Times Square again, where Peter's walking, you know, just like, oh, it's a fucking weird situation to be in. But he sees on the scroll, on the fucking screens across Times Square, that apparently Spider-Man saves daughter of renowned police captain. The mayor will now gift him the key to the city. And they're like, all right, shit. So I guess they're just, even though no one's been in contact with Peter or Spider-Man about this, like, I guess how would they? And they're like, we're just going to assume he's going to show up. We're going to give him the key to the city. Okay. And he reads this, and he's like, and then who stands right next to him, Chad? Who comes up behind him, Chad? It's fucking Stan motherfucking Lee, Chad. Stan Lee. And all he says, he turns the first time they interact in the movie, because before, I mean, Stan Lee, of course, known for his cameos across many Marvel movies and shit. This is actually the first one where his interaction with Peter Parker, because before, in the Spider-Man 1 and 2, he just pulls people away from falling debris. They were going to give him a speaking line in Spider-Man 2, where he's like, he stole that kid's pizzas, but he fucked it up, and they replaced him with a different actor. It's in the gag reel for that movie, which is actually quite funny. But this is the first time where he turns to Tobey and he says, you know, I guess a person can be just a really good guy. That's it. And he just leaves. Or what the fuck? He says something equivalent of that. And Toby, like, huh? He doesn't say anything to him. Just being super socially awkward and weird. It's like, okay. He's like, I guess a guy can be just really good. But anyway, and he just leaves. It's like, okay. Thankfully, his cameos get better in the other movies he'll star in the future, chat. But after that, it's like, oh, fantastic. He's going to get the key of the city. Can't wait to tell everybody. But then, chat, we cut to Harry Osborn's home, chat, where Peter's taking him home from the hospital and stuff. And Bernard there is like, Harry, oh, it's so good to see you, Harry. I'm like your father figure. Come here. And he like, Jose, thank you, Bernard. Thank you. He's like, well, you two kids have fun. I'm going to go to my room of secrets. And he goes to his room of secrets, which he does not share with anyone until a very important moment later in the movie. And Harry and him are just walking and stuff. And he's like, I just forgot so much stuff, Peter. Bernard, do I have girlfriends? Not a girlfriend. Harry's like, no. I would, obviously being Harry Osborn, I would have multiple girlfriends, plural. And Bernard's like, No, not girlfriends. Goblin gliders, yes, but not girlfriends. And he just leaves. And because he's like, oh, man, I wish I could remember so many things. It's crazy, Peter. I just forgotten so much. And Peter's like, hey, want to play some basketball? Want to play some indoor basketball? And Harry's like, oh, boy, do I. Thank you, Bach. Welcome to stream. Also, I want to go ahead and thank Vader Appropriator. Good name, by the way. Thank you, my new Huckleberry. Welcome. But Toby distracts Harry with a basketball, and Harry's just a big, dumb Labrador at this point. He's like, ball. And so they start, like, fucking throwing the basketball around and dribbling, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? This is weird. Hi-ho. Good to see you, Thunderly. Thank you for resubscribing 17 months on a 17-month streak. Thank you, Thunderly. It's just weird where they're fucking playing basketball and shit. And then we get some weird retconning where it's like, hey, remember in high school where we tried out for the varsity team? And you go, yeah, we were like really awful. Now, Harry and Peter didn't know each other until their senior year of high school. And so I'm like, unless they have tried to play basketball, they tried out for the team in senior year, which I'm like, I don't think you did. But fair enough. I'll allow it. I'll let it pass, chat. And so they're playing basketball and shit. And Harry's just like, whoa, my head. Well, Peter, I mean, I'm just really happy for people like you. People like you and Mary Jane. I mean, you're my family. I mean, I definitely miss my dad. And we pan over to the creepiest fucking picture of William Dafoe. And it's just him sitting there going, and he's in the chair, like from the first movie, chat, where he like talks to the mask and like puts the mask on right on there, the goblin mask and shit. And he's like, Harry, misery. That's what you, all that shit, just creepy as fuck. Was if my biggest you mean sexy, then yes. I mean, sure. Think of the 5 biddies. And Peter's like, Jesus. He's like, hey, Harry, think fast. And Harry's like, whoa. And it, like, he grabs the ball, but he accidentally, like, the ball hits a vase and he's about to fall and he grabs the ball and the vase at the same time, showing that he still has his goblin abilities. I suppose he's like, whoa, this is cool, Peter. And Peter's like, yeah. And Norman's just in the background going, ha, 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 misery. It's like, all right, sure. Finish it, Harry. Finish it. After that, Luke, think to me, I thought that had known each other before senior class, because Harry said that his dad always liked Peter. I don't know. I mean, but it's like that was the first time Harry went to Midtown High, because he flunked. It's implied he flunked, unless they knew each other way beforehand. Again, we don't know. Who fucking knows? It's up in the air at this point. Again, there's a lot of retconning in this particular movie. But after that chat, after the basketball scene and Bernard, we then cut to Mary Jane, who's going back to the theater because she's got to practice her shit. But she sees that there's a person who is going to replace her, this other woman. And I got to say, Chad, like when they fucking had Kristen Dunst going down those stairs and she was singing, she was good, great. But I'm like, oh yeah, the girl they have obviously replacing her is definitely better. You could tell her voice carries throughout the entire fucking theater. It's like, oh yeah, she's obviously better. She's like, shit. And eventually we see these 2 theater guys who felt really real. Like, these guys feel like they might actually be theater people because just how they were acting. And they're like, oh shit. They're like, oh honey, oh listen, you didn't call her on the phone? You said I was gonna call her? I didn't say, you didn't tell me that. Oh shit. Listen, yeah, she's like, are you replacing me? And they're like, we were going to call you, and I guess we didn't. We're just really busy with rehearsal. The thing is, listen, and she says, it was just one bad review. I mean, there's other reviews. She's like, yeah, we know. We read them all. They're all bad. And you'll see all these reviews, how she sucks. And she's like, oh my God. Which, again, she wasn't bad. She wasn't bad at all. She did a good, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's fake fucking, drama for the movie itself. And they're like, well, listen, even though I don't know what her contract is like, because I'm like, okay, if you hired her on for this performance, I guess you could just replace her, but you still owe her severance. Again, it's movie logic. It doesn't make any sense. We can get you obviously have a severance package. You obviously signed a contract with us. We would pay you what you are owed up to a point or however what it is. But apparently they're like, yeah, listen, honey, we'll just tell the press that you got sick and that's it. We have to replace you. Because I guess they don't give her any money. And she's not very good at keeping track of her finances, Jack. Because after this, I guess she was spending. I mean, listen, it's expensive as fuck to live in New York. I know that. The taxes are ridiculous, and the apartments are fucking shoebox, and you got to pay $5,000, $6,000 to live in 120 square feet. But still, she has apparently no money, and she's destitute. And she leaves, and they're chained, and she's leaving. It's funny. And like all these people are like, woo! Because she's like, oh, you're clapping for me? You love me. But they're clapping for fucking Spider-Man because he's swinging to the goddamn city. It's like, she's like, fucking hate you, Spider-Man. Even though you're my boyfriend and I love you, I fucking hate you and stuff. You're such a loser, whatever. Your job's not hard. Obviously, as we all know, being an actor is so much harder than being a superhero who has to put his life on the line every day. I mean, I have to be criticized by people. It's like, all right, whatever. It's just very unappealing. Oh, God, you just don't. It's like bullshit. And she sees her name being replaced, and she sees all this Spider-Man memorabilia. Everyone's like loving Spider-Man. It's like, fucking be happy for him. He'll take care of you. All right? He'll, like, listen, you're going to get another role. You're going to get another performance. That's what fucking happens in this business. You're going to be fine. But, whatever. Anyway. After that, we then cut to the big fucking day. Oh, by the way, I think someone else followed me. Go and thank them. Tavi, too cool. They with all your my new Huckleberry. Welcome to the stream. Currently reading Spider-Man 3. It's a long one, baby. But we then cut. It's the day of the Spider-Man celebration. He's going to get the key to the city, chat. Oh, what a great fucking day. Everyone's there. Everyone's prepping for it. Toby, he's there taking pictures for the Bugle. Everyone has Spider-Man. By the way, I love that he's like, everyone has these Spider-Man shirts and memorabilia. Like, someone's making a fucking mint off of Spider-Man's fucking name. And he ain't getting a cent of it. But he's like, whatever. It's not like he collected because he exposed his secret identity, chat. So I get it. But they have the marching band. And Toby's like, yeah, play that. And they're doing the classic ba-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba, the classic Spider-Man music and shit. Here. Thank you, Infected Medic. I like that name, Infected Medic. That sounds like you're from Left 4 Dead or Back 4 Blood. Good to see you. Like my new Huckleberry. We're doing that. He's all happy and shit. Eventually, Mary Jane shows up, and she's there, and she's looking nice. And Peter's like, hey there, gorgeous. He takes a picture of her, and she's like, huh? And he's like, hey, one more for the road. And she moves out of the camera, and he's like, hey, listen, you're not still upset, right, about the other day? And she goes, no, it's just, he's like, well, listen, it's just one review, Mary Jane. I understand it to hear that, but listen, after this, let's go get dinner. I'm really excited to take you out. I want to celebrate with you. And she goes, yeah, great, Peter. And he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go get ready. Meanwhile, we cut to Gwen Stacy and Eddie Brock, and Eddie Brock is like, oh yes, pose for me. It's like, we can go to my place later, and I can take some more intimate picture. She's like, yeah, it's great. He's like, I can't stop thinking about that night of passion. And he's like, Eddie, we just got a cup of coffee. He goes, yes. And I think about it all the time. I'll be back here. And it's like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, he's insane. So they're getting prepped and shit. Everyone's getting prepared. Meanwhile, we cut to Flint Marko, who is just, even though he is a wanted fucking man, all right, he is numero fucking uno, the #1 most wanted man in the state of New York and New York City. He's just walking down the street like this, and some cops spot him and going, hey. Also, when he's walking, he tips his head, and some sand comes out of his ear. It's like, oh, you gotta deal with that constantly, just blocked ear canals filled with sand and mud and shit. He goes, oh. But these cops spot him. And we're going, hey, Flint Marko. He goes, whoa. And thankfully, Chad, he was right next to a truck filled with sand. And he climbs up into it. And they're like, hey, where'd he go? He's in the truck filled with sand. And they take the tarp off of it. And they climb up and they take a shovel. And there's this place where the sand is continuously going in a little hole, and this guy goes over, he's like, all right, Flint. He's like, he doesn't give a fuck. He's like, I'm gonna fucking bludgeon and stab this criminal with a shovel. It's like, just take your gun and go, freeze, get out of the sand right now. He's like, no, fuck it, I'm going to stab this man with a fucking shovel. And he goes, and he's boo, and he's blasted. Sandman just bursts out of the fucking sand, chat, and he sends this cop flying. Hits a windshield, chat, dead. I'm sorry, this fucking cop is dead. Hits it directly with his face and head. Definitely broke his neck. Paralyzed from the neck down. Severe cranial damage. Possible blindness. Choking on his own blood. Man is dead. So at this point, it's like, okay, Sandman, your body count's high. High at this point. Based on someone else he killed earlier. It's like, all right, you can. And then he becomes this giant here, the bump, the tubas start playing, and he's gentle. The cops were like, fire at the Sandman, and they also boom, boom, boom. They start firing at Sandman. He's like, Rah. I remember in the trailers for the movie, it was interesting because in here he's like a general monster golem, kind of like a sand golem voice. Roar. In the trailer, they replace his scream with Godzilla, a Godzilla war, like I remember that particular. I was like, oh, look at that. But he blasts these guys and he sends them flying in the shops. Like, these cops are definitely dead. And then he forms. It's kind of cool. They do some interesting stuff with Sandman's abilities. Not all of it works because the CGI is so dated. There's a scene between Spider-Man and Sandman. It's not this one. It's one later on when they're fighting in the labyrinthian subway system in New York, which does not exist, where it doesn't look good. But I like how he moves in this. It's kind of interesting things. So first thing about me is specifically the trailer used the roar from Emmerich. That's right. I knew it. Yep, there it is. The scraw. But He flies away in a big sand cloud at this point. We then cut back to the key ceremony with Spider-Man shit. Everyone's stage. Gwen Stacy's there and everything. Mary Jane's just like, everyone loves Spider-Man, but no one loves me. It's so stupid. I'm better than Spider-Man. And then Harry comes over. He's like, hey, Mary Jane, I'm eating cotton candy. It's just so good. He's like, everything is an adventure to Harry. He's like, cotton candy? This is called popcorn. Oh, it's like, what the fuck is wrong with him? Black Knight, thank you for the 5 biddies. When they shoot enemies next to a building, how do we know? Yeah, I know. They definitely went in that building, definitely hit fucking people. Bump on the head. That's right, because she's like, well, you're looking better. He's like, yeah, a bump on the head, and I'm free as a bird. And then she's like, well, I could go with a bump on the head right now. And he goes, boop. She goes, oh, and everything. I want soda. He's like, I'm fine. Eventually, we then cut to Toby. He's sitting on, in plain fucking view, not a skyscraper. It's like a 3-story building. It's a 3-4-story building at most. And he's just up there without the mask, just going, huh, they love me. They all love me. Puts the mask on, and then we cut to the stage, and we're like, oh shit, Spider-Man! It's Spider-Man! And then ba-na-na, 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 da-da-da-da. And then I like the extras. I should say, the extras in this are being extra, because if you look in the background, there is a woman. It's behind Bryce. She's like, and the amazing Spider-Man as he's coming down. There is an extra right to her left. If you look at her left, chat, there is an extra losing her fucking mind where she's like, oh, it's Spider-Man. Oh, like she literally grabs her head and goes, oh, rocks from side to side. It's just like, it amused me greatly. It's like, tell me I'm lying. Watch that scene online. There it is. And he fucking swings down and he says, hey guys, high fives. And it's like, listen, at the rate he was swinging, at the velocity, foamy mouth goes, yeah, foamy mouth guy from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Pretty much the female equivalent in Spider-Man 3. But he's coming down, he's swinging, and he's like, let's do high fives. The velocity at which he was coming down, he would have ripped those people's hands off, but I'll allow it. They would have went like this. All the way back, chat, snapped, hanging on by just a couple of tendons, but I'll allow it, whatever. He comes down, he starts slapping their hands, and he's like, woo! He's like, Shazam! Wazow! He's like, okay, doing all these things. And eventually he does the classic, hanging upside down thing. And then for whatever reason, he's right next to Gwen Stacy. And this, I'm like, okay, this is when he fucks up. Like before, I'm like, all right, Mary Jane, you're acting ridiculous. You're being selfish. Here, he fucks up. And whatever other reason, apparently the citizens of New York want to fuck everything that moves. They're very horny people, chat. And, I'm from New York, but I'm like, oh, I wouldn't encourage this. But like all the people in the car are like, kiss her. Just fucking kiss her, Spider-Man. Kiss her. Oh my God, do it. Kiss her. Like, and then there's, but this one kid is like, don't do it, Spider-Man. No, it's gross. Which I actually liked. Don't do it. And she's like, well, okay. It's like, do you want to kiss and stuff? And I'm like, if I was Spider-Man in this position, I'd be like, oh yeah, give me a good old smack on the cheek right there. Oh, that's great. Little smooch in the cheek. Perfect. No. He's like, yeah, lay one on me. And where she pulls down, if I was Peter, if I was Spider-Man in this situation, if she starts to like grow for my mask and pull it down, I'm like, whoa, I would be like, oh, nah, little smooch, gotta protect the secret identity, right, folks? Obviously. He doesn't, because he's indulgent, he's not thinking. It's dumb. But she pulls down the mask, and he does the upside-down kiss with Gwen Stacy. And Harry's like, oh, that's really cool. Right, MJ? MJ's like, what the fuck? And I get it. She is deservedly mad at Peter here because that is their kiss. The fact that Peter, and it's not like a little, not even a little smooch in the, it's like, okay, smooch in the cheek. All right. That's fine. I think that's fine. That's harmless. That's totally harmless. Ow, plays the crowd. Smooch in the lips. It's like, all right, a little too much contact. But they are open ton. like kissing. I'm like, Jesus, they're gonna swallow each other's tongues at this point. And inappropriate. Peter fucked up. And MJ's just like, what the hell? And she leaves. She immediately leaves because she's just fucking pissed. And, you know, Spider-Man, he fucking writes himself. He's like, yeah, that was a hell of a kiss, right, folks? Anyway, thanks for the key. But then they hear reports on the police scanners that the Sandman, there's a monster, a Sandman monster attacking downtown New York. Apparently he's going after a van filled with money. And they're like, oh shit, Captain Stacy, put all our guys on that van of money. We gotta track it down. Spider-Man's like, don't worry, Captain Stacy, I'll get it. We then cut to the van filled with money, chat, where Sandman has basically inserted his sand arm down the throats of all these security guards, suffocating them to death and filling them with sand, making their tummies explode. They're all dead. A couple of them are alive. The driver is alive and one other security guard is alive. But he's getting all the random sacks of money and coins and shit. Spider-Man gets over there. He tries to get in. He jumps into the hole that the Sandman created. He's like, how you doing there, partner? I'm the sheriff around these parts. Okay. And Sandman's like, I don't want to hurt you. He's like, well, too bad. And he instantly tries to punch Sandman. And this is cool. This is practical. Where he punches through his chest. And what they did is they actually used a stuntman who does not have a right arm. And so when he punches through him, it's like, that was actually a guy that didn't have an arm. They CGI'd the arm. It's like, oh, that's cool. That's a cool little practical effect there. You know, it's a good scene. But if Peter's like, oh, fucking shit. And Sandman goes, boom, and he punches him. He's like, oh, Jesus. He punches him, goes out the back of the thing, but he webs to the truck, and he uses one of the doors to kind of like skateboard and gets closer and closer to the truck. And Sandman's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here at this point. He loses the money because Spider-Man inserts himself back in there. Sandman, he puts sand in the front of the truck to then, you know, make because the truck driver's like, fuck, what am I supposed to do? I can't stop. This guy's gonna kill me. Sandman puts most of his mass in the front, causing the driver to put his foot on the pedal and is still driving. And then he gets the fuck out of there. Peter grabs the truck driver, throws him out the back, takes the other guy who didn't get sand murdered, throws him out the back, webs it, and boom, the truck hits like a fire truck or something. And he comes out of it, and we see from Sandman is literally standing on maybe a 3 to 4 story building overlooking everything. And Spider-Man's just like, where'd he go? It's like, look slightly up. Like, you've been like, oh, there he is. It's easy. Easy. But no one looks up in this movie, which is fucking weird. And Sandman's just like, I want money. And he leaves, and we see that Spider-Man create a really bad-looking CGI web to save those two guys, and they're okay. But, oh, no, his day was ruined. But that's okay, chat. That's okay. You know, things could get better. Things get better because at this point, Chad, he's like, you know what? Hey, I still got my key to the city. People still love me. Stop the thing. It's what I do. It's what I do. Hey, wouldn't be a regular David Spider-Man if I wasn't saving people and fighting supervillains. I'm right. He has a very positive attitude about it. But now, Chad, he is going to propose to Mary Jane. He's picked out this very Frenchy French restaurant. And who do we see? Who's the maitre d', Chad? Who's the manager? Bruce Campbell. Of course, he's cameoed in Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2 at this point. Spider-Man 1, he was the wrestler announcer. Spider-Man 2, he was the rude valet. And here, he is the very French waiter. And I think it's okay. He does a good job. He's a little hammy. I mean, that's what he does. That's what Bruce Campbell does. I mean, Ash, of course, you know, he's best friends with Sam Raimi. Totally get it. They made so many movies together. Totally understand. I get it. But I don't know. Sometimes it felt like it felt a little too much. Because he's one of the, hello, monsieur, how are you doing today? I'm French. They let you know I'm French, which is interesting because in what was to be Spider-Man 4, in the opening of that movie, it would have been revealed that Bruce Campbell was Mysterio, Quentin Beck, and he would have been all these characters across the films, which I'm like, that would have been fucking funny. That would have been a great way to end this cameo arc of Bruce Campbell. It's like, oh, that's interesting, but it didn't happen. So this is supposed to be Quentin Beck in all these roles, chat, pulling off scams and things, and you know, robbing these places, the wrestling organization, the theater where MJ was performing, and also this restaurant. But that's what it been. And so Peter's like, hey man, thanks. Listen, I'm gonna propose to my girlfriend. He goes, oh, so romantic, romantic. He goes, yeah. I have the ring here. He's like, want to put it in the glass of champagne. Very beautiful. He said, yes, exactly. It's like, and when I call you over, he's like, oh, he called us over. We got to perform. You have a song you want to play, the violin. And it's like, yeah, I have this one song. It's from a play. It's the song of the show that she was just fired from. Because Peter's like, oh, it's the best song ever. She'll love it. And I'm sure that won't bring up any negative memories and shit. He goes, it's our favorite here. It is our favorite song to play here. It's like, is it? Quentin Beck. And so he leaves. And we'll get your food and shit and everything. Peter goes to sit down at the table. He pops his booty down. MJ comes and she's like, sorry I'm late. Just a lot of things have been going on. You know, he's like, Peter's like, oh, believe me, I know. Crazy stuff. Like there's this new guy called the Sandman right now. It's been a little. She's like, can you just not fucking talk about Spider-Man for once? Okay. All right. And he goes, yeah. Sure. Is everything okay? She goes, let me tell you. And right when she's about to go in and talk about what's been going on, Gwen Stacy's at the same restaurant. She goes, Peter. And he's like, oh, hi, Gwen, who I just open mouth tongue kissed several hours ago as Spider-Man. She's like, oh my God, Peter, I'm just eating with my family. My dad, Captain Stacy, he's off screen. He's not actually in the scene because we don't really have anything for him to do. And my mom is also here. She's off screen. We're just eating because, you know, we're celebrating Spider-Man and like me being alive and stuff. It's awesome. And then she's like, oh, who's this? And he's like, oh, this is my girlfriend, Mary Jane. She's like, oh, you're Mary Jane. Let me tell you about, and then we get like something that's really weird to me. She starts like massaging Peter's back and his shoulder. It's like, okay, he just told you, this is my girlfriend. And she's like, oh, Peter. It's like, what the fuck is this? That doesn't make any sense. It's just character, Chris Hansen, help him, yeah. Just starts rubbing him. Just rubbing him right in front of Mary Jane. Mary Jane's like, the fuck are you doing, bitch? And she's not saying, she's just looking at him. She goes, Peter, oh my God, he is so smart. He's like a genius at science. Like he helps me in advanced physics, which I don't even know why I'm taking it. It's almost as if the writers of the movie have no idea what my character is supposed to be. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, Peter, you're just, you're just so cute, Peter. Anyway, great meeting you, Mary Jane. See, and she leaves, and Mary Jane's like, she's like, who is that? And he's like, oh, it's Gwen Stacy, girlfriend of my class. Girlfriend of your class. Yeah. Girlfriend of your class, you were kissing. You were open tongue fucking kissing at the Spider-Man ceremony today. He goes, and that's when you see, I love, this is brilliant. I'm like, Tobey Maguire acts his ass off here because you can see in his eyes where he's like, oh, I fucked up. Because he goes, oh, shit. You feel it. I'm like, he did a good job in this scene. When he's like, oh. And she goes, why'd you do that? He goes, it was just a kiss. It's the crowd wants just a kiss. That was our kiss, Peter. Or did you forget when you fucking saved me from those rapists from Spider-Man 1 who were trying to molest me in the rain and where I didn't wear a bra? And he's like, Mary Jane, she's, you know what, Peter? You know what? You just, and during this whole thing that's happening, we see that, like, because Peter's, like, raising his hand and stuff, like, Mary Jane, because he's talking with his hands, and Bruce Campbell's like, oh, yes, we'll bring the, and he's like, no, don't bring it over. Don't bring the champagne and the ring over at this point. And he's always, like, it's going back and forth and everything. And then she's like, know what, Peter? You can just stay here, enjoy your food, don't follow me. He's like, Mary Jane, and the guy, Bruce Campbell's like, ah, yes. And he goes over there, and fucking Toby's just, like, standing there in the middle of the restaurant just going, fuck. And he sadly walks back to the table, doesn't even drink the champagne, just fishes out the ring with a fork and goes, well, that's great. That's wonderful, chat. And do you think that it can get any worse? Oh, boy, it can. Because he goes back to the apartment. He calls Mary Jane on the phone. He's like, listen, Mary Jane, like, you know, answering machine. I'm sorry about everything at the restaurant, what I did at the ceremony. I get it. I want to make sure you're okay. If you want to talk, please let me know. I'll be here, okay? What if she smelled? I always thought that. It's like, you don't want to do that, but it's like, what the? Just cough that up. Yeah, always be careful about that. I wouldn't have done it that way. But Peter thought it was romantic, regurgitating the ring he would then bestow upon his lovely girlfriend and future fiance and wife and mother, or not mother, fucking mother of his children. But, you know, calls and shit. And she just about picks up the Peter. Dang it, he hung up. And then we cut back to Peter, and here's the ring-a-ding in the phone. And he goes, oh, shit, Mary Jane? And he goes, no, sir. This is the NYPD precinct. Bullshit. We have some retconning we like to inform you about. And he goes, what? And so him and Aunt May go to the police station, and apparently this is being handled by Captain George Stacy, because Sam Raimi said, oh shit, I have James Cromwell, this incredible actor, this Oscar-nominated actor, and I have nothing for him to do. And so you're going to deliver exposition, James Cromwell. He's like, hi, I'm Captain George Stacy. My daughter's beautiful. Also, I have information you need to be updated on, Mr. Parker, Mrs. Parker. And says, what do you need to tell us, Captain Stacy? She goes, oh, yeah. Remember Frosted Tips from Spider-Man 1? She's like, I never forgot him. Who killed my Benjamin? He goes, yeah. He didn't do it. And they're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, we have witnesses that corroborate the story. Apparently, the person that killed him was Flint Marco, the Sandman. And he shows the picture, and just like, wow, the guy you just fought is also the murderer, the true murderer of your uncle. And we see these flashbacks of the first movie, and Peter's version of what happened, where they brought back what's his name? Guy that plays Uncle Ben. Help me out here, chat. Oh Jesus. Oh God. Let's give Cliff Robertson. They brought Cliff Robertson, who appears in all the movies. Who appears in the movies as Uncle Ben. He's in the flashbacks. It's too bad, like, his last performance is in such a really narratively shitty scene in the movie, where Peter's like looking at the picture of Sandman going, ooh, and he's imagining Sandman going, open up the car, old man. And Uncle Ben's like, oh. He opens up the car and he goes, I need your car. But he's like, this is the Sam Raimi mobile. It's been in so many movies. Evil Dead 1, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness. Oh, he gets shot. He just shoots him, and now it's mine. And he takes it. And he's like, but don't worry, Mrs. Parker, Mr. Young Parker, we're gonna find him. And Peter's like, well, clearly you're not doing your goddamn job. She's like, son, let me tell you, police work takes time, and we're on the case. And so they retcon not Army of Darkness fan. Yeah, boom, right after that one. That's what did it. The horrible one thing with the movie is, we called you here to tell you this is your uncle's actual killer. Well, goodbye. He just fucking leaves until the next scene. Is he in another? I don't know if he's in another scene after this. I don't think so. I think this might be. Maybe he's at the final battle for like a bit, but I think this is his last scene. This is it. No, this is the last scene, chat. Again, wasted. Completely wasted. Captain Stacy, such an important character. Wasted in both. Like, they do some cool things with him, with Dennis Leary and the Amazing Spider-Man, but I think, again, they kind of like drop the ball in some degree. I like the Commissioner Gordon relationship that he has with him in one of the more positive aspects. But the fact that he killed him was such a huge mistake. That's for another review. That's another review. I can't get into that right now. We have so much movie to cover at this point. So much fucking movie to cover. But Peter's just fucking pissed off, and he's like, "Well, we're gonna try or whatever, I guess." Peter then. Look, last thing of the 2 minutes. P.S. Don't date my daughter. Oh, wait, wrong version of him, right? Thank you for the 2 minutes. Harry's funeral, Harry. Wow, you're fucking right. Go on. Unless Harry's been revealed to be the new Goblin. I don't know. Yeah, even when I was 10 years old, I thought this was the greatest movie in the world. This whole reveal never made sense to me. Why the fuck didn't we tell Peter and me about Marco? It doesn't make any sense. what they do is apparently there's some dialogue where James Cromwell says Marco confessed to the crime in jail to his cellmate, and the cellmate told us, and witnesses from years ago corroborate that it was not Frosted Tips, but Flint Marco that did it. Where were these witnesses when Uncle Ben was shot before? Did they just, again, it doesn't make any sense. It's a really bad retcon, really bad writing. We gotta go with it. Peter drops off Aunt May at her fucking apartment at 4:30 in the morning because he doesn't understand time, and that his Aunt Anna is very frail and tired. I'm so tired, Peter. Shut up, Aunt May. Go to sleep. And he goes home, and all he does now is what happens here? Oh yeah, I think MJ. Oh yeah, I think MJ. Does MJ come to see him? I think MJ comes to see him at one point. And yeah, because she stops by and it's really awkward. And she's like, "Well, listen, I hope you're gonna just do okay. Sorry about your uncle like getting killed by like a different guy this time. Just don't be listening to that police scanner, Peter. It's bad stuff." All right, bye. And so she leaves, and he just puts the Spider-Man suit on, and he's just sitting there like laying in bed listening to it, chat. And also the symbiote, by the way, the symbiote has been in the apartment for like the past 2.5 weeks, just going, I need a host. It's literally just been moving around the room for days. And it's just, that's creepy. I was like, that's kind of weird. It's just been with you, but it hasn't, but it senses rage, it senses anger and whatever. And so he's sleeping, and the thing starts crawling on him and going, this is so good, and so good. And starts rapping, which I remember from the trailer, it's like, oh, this looks so fucking cool. Not that cool. 15 years later, really, but it's like, all right, I'll let it pass. But it starts crawling on him and shit. What happens next is fucking bizarre to me. I was like, wait a minute, what? That's your reaction? But it starts crawling all over him until it gets to his face. He goes, because it covers his mouth and shit, and his eye, and goes over his eye. And then we cut, and it's later that evening, or who knows how long it's been, and he wakes up hanging upside down in the black symbiote Spider-Man suit. And he goes, whoa, is this real? Is this a dream? What is this? A black suit? I feel incredible. And he just starts, I'm not going like, what the fuck? No, not like what your natural reaction would be with that fucking thing on you going, whoa, No, he's like, I feel great. And he starts swinging around the city. Just like, oh, this is the best thing ever. And he takes the mask off and goes, what a crazy thing. I'm like, what? Like, people's reactions is weird. But I will say this. He does go to Dr. Kirk Connors. It's like, D. Bradley Baker's like, I'm going to be the lizard in a movie someday. Sam Raimi told me. Yeah. He takes the D. Bradley Baker. No, it's D. Bradley. It's D. Bradley Baker, right? I think that's his name. Hold on. Let me put the respect on that man. Dylan Baker. Sorry, I'm thinking of the voice actor. Dylan Baker. Chat Dylan Baker. Good old Dylan Baker. Not D. Bradley Baker. Mixed up Bakers. Dylan Baker. And he plays Dr. Kirk Connors. Was going to be the lizard, but was in the cards, sadly. I feel bad for him because he really wanted to play the lizard in a movie. He talked about that in interviews and stuff. He's like, oh yeah, I'll be the lizard someday. Nope. A fucking Peter somehow takes a piece off of the suit, and Dr. Kirk Connors, this is weird because, although I guess it's mentioned in the previous films, and it's mentioned in this movie, he's like, now, I'm not a biologist, which I'm like, wait a minute, you are a biologist in the comics. You study, like, reptiles. You do the whole fucking reptile arm thing. Regrow limbs and shit. But no, he's a physicist in the movies, which is weird. But I was like, oh yeah, I guess they do establish that in the rest of the film. So it's like, all right, just weird they never, because I'm not a biologist, but this shit's fucking weird, man. This feels like a parasite, what we call in the scientific field a symbiote. And Toby's like, I never heard of this. What? And he's like, yeah, it looks like it's metabolism, it's hungry and shit. Seems to be seeking a host, and it crawls off the microscope. And it goes towards Peter. He's like, oh, shit. And he gets a cup and he puts it down. And it says, for some reason, has an attachment to you. And he goes, yeah. He's like, listen, whatever you do, whatever this thing is, which at this point, be like, okay, this is a brand new organism never found before. We need to call the government. We need to call other scientists. But apparently he's like, just make sure whatever you do, don't let it get on you. And Peter's like, why? Well, symbiotes, sometimes when they get on you, when they attach to you, they're hard to detach. It's like, I get it. All right. And so after that, he's like, well, I'm going to keep doing what I'm going to fucking keep doing at this point. Eventually, he goes back home, Chad. He goes back home, and he turns on the police scanners turned on, and he hears a fucking report, chat, that there's been a fucking robbery, and the Sandman, it's reported that Flynn Marco, now called the Sandman, has robbed a bank. And he's near the subway station. And Spider-Man's like, and he puts on the black suit and he swings out over there to confront Flint Marco. He gets there at the same time. Eddie Brock is there taking pictures. Eddie Brock is like, whoa, Spider-Man. Love the fucking suit. I mean, the red and blue. Oh, man, that is so last year, man. Black is your color. It's mine. And he starts taking pictures and shit. He's like, listen, man, listen. That Peter Parker kid, I know he's been taking pictures of you, but listen, I can cut you into some of the money I'm making. It'll be fine, man. Let's work out a deal. And fucking Spider-Man's like, no. Fucking webs up the camera and just flings it, smashes it, and then Peter is like, see you later, sucker! And he jumps in the hole into the subway system, and then fucking Eddie's like, what the fuck? What the hell, man? And then but he takes it a little. Cameron goes, what's he planning, chat? You'll see. We then cut to the by the way, chat, I imagine for a lot of people that saw this movie, they think this is what the New York subway system looks like. It does not. It does not. It is not built upon wood. It's not many bridges of wood with thousands and hundreds, literally looking like dozens and hundreds of crisscrossing subway tracks. This does not exist. This is not real. But we see Sandman walking with these big bags of money, and this is kind of cool though, because we see Spider-Man in the shadows, like it's lit up when it's illuminated by like a subway or by a train. And he like hides in the shadow, and Sandman turns around and is like, what the fucking, what? And he keeps going and shit. But eventually, fucking Spider-Man shows up, and Sandman's like, whoa, listen, I don't want to hurt you, okay? I just need money for my daughter, all right? I'm not a bad man. This is bad luck. And he's like, Peter's like, I'm not fucking listening to any of your dialogue. Does the name Benjamin Parker mean anything to you? And he goes, oh, and he starts having a fucking flashback. He's like, what does it mean to you anyway? Everything! And he fucking just comes down on him, chat, not in a sexual way, a physical, threatening way. Boom, hits him. And then they go into this giant fucking huge Leviathan-sized, room filled with crisscrossing subway tracks made of wood and very rusty metal. And they just start destroying all this shit, throwing each other. There's a scene where Sandman backhands Spider-Man. Spider-Man goes, buh, 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 bounces on these subway cars like a ping pong ball. Spider-Man just fucking loses it at this point because he keeps having the flashbacks to Ben going, ah! And he grabs Sandman's head and just puts it right on this moving subway car and starts like grinding his face down. Again, cool idea. CGI is just dated here, and so it's like, this could have been better. It could be done better now, but it looks a little rough here. Sadly, just because of the technology they had. He busts them off. They keep fighting and shit. Eventually, they're just fling. Again, this is... I don't understand the metrics of this place, but they fall down even more, and eventually Sandman lands into a puddle, and he's like, oh, and he reaches for like the bag of money, just happens to be like not 3 feet away. He reaches for it, but oh no, chat, his hand starts to dissolve and get all muddy. He realizes like, my weakness is water. Oh shit, I'm like the aliens from Signs. And Peter's like, hey, you're like the aliens from Signs. And he jumps on this giant industrial pipe, which I guess is in the Leviathan-sized crisscross subway system. Okay. And he starts like, "Arr!" And all the fucking pistons and nails start coming out. Boop, boop, beep, boop, boop. And get all these like quick cuts to Sandman. And then, and all this water starts coming. He's like, "Arr!" And he gets hit against this grate. He's like, and he dissolves. And then we cut to Spider-Man. He goes, good riddance. But he does in that like really campy like good riddance that voice. And were the alligators down there? They might as well have been. They might as well have been. It felt like a stage. You know what it feels like to me? It feels like a stage in Mortal Kombat where you transition between different areas, or Injustice, like when you hit someone off screen and they hit like a bunch of shit. It's the same thing. And then they're in like a new area, but it still has the kind of overall like aesthetic. It's exactly that. Yeah, the reptile wins. Like that's what Spider-Man wins. That's what should have come up at this point. There was like a fucking environmental fatality that Spider-Man used on Flint Marko on Sandman. After that, Chad, at this point, Chad, Bully Maguire is born. He has not yet hit his peak, but Bully Toad Maguire is born, Chad. All right, and he starts going home. He's like, and shit. He's like looking like this. He's like passes by like a mirror, and he's like, yeah, this is me. It's like he just puts like he does the Leon S. Kennedy, and for whatever reason, his hair has become black. So I guess when the symbiote attaches you, it changes your hair color, except for if you're Eddie Brock, who has frosted tips. But his hair suddenly becomes black for some reason. But he's like. Yeah, and he passes, but he goes home, and he's trying to get into his apartment, and there's Mr. Dickovich, chat, the character Mr. Dickovich, who was created in honor of Steve Ditko, one of the creators of Spider-Man, and did the artwork. Apparently, Sam Raimi said, I want to create a Russian Slavic stereotype in honor of Steve Ditko. And so, see, of course, Mr. Dickovich is like, rent, I need the rent, and fucking iconic line from the movie. Peter turns and is like, you'll get your rent when you fix this damn door. And he's like, whoa. And he goes inside. And then Ursula, what I always thought I think is supposed to be like a Deb Whitman-esque character. She looks like Deb Whitman, another female supporting character from Spider-Man's history. But her name is Ursula. And she comes out, and he's like, Dad, are you okay? He's like, he is good boy. He is good boy. He talked back to me. I admire that. He seems to be in trouble. Bake food for me. You are a woman. You belong in kitchen. Why are you not married and have babies? I want grandchildren. Make food. And that's what happens with her. That's all she does. Fucking that actress. All she does is be really meek and cooks food for either her father, Mr. Dickovich, or Peter. And that's it. Making cake and baking cookies and burning pierogies. Guy Fieri frosted tips, very much so. Yeah, oh yeah. Fuck, that's what Eddie Brock's rocking. I always feel bad for it, Chad. And Christopher Throbbing, it's an iconic scene. I love Rent Guy. Want to go see Rent? I love the memes and all shit with him. Very funny memes and all the gifs. What happens at this point? Oh yeah, so after that, he realizes he was like, I was kind of mean to Mr. Dickovich, and he's like, I gotta take this suit off. I don't feel good with it. He puts the suit in a case. Like, for whatever reason, even though Symbiote's like, no, I'm not detaching from you. I'm sticking to you. It's just like, oh yeah, you can take me off. It's fine. It's like, whatever. He puts it in a suitcase, and it just stays in the corner of his closet. He then goes and talks of Aunt May, and he's like, hey, Aunt May, I have something to tell you. Oh, Peter, what do you have to tell me, Peter? And he's like, listen, you know that Flint Marko guy? The one who killed my husband. Yes. I just want to let you know that Spider-Man found him and killed him. He's like, and she's like, what? He goes, yeah, and he did it. So it's great, right? And she goes, Peter, Spider-Man doesn't kill people. He's a hero. And he's like, Aunt May, I thought you would be happy. He goes, I'm not one to decide who lives or dies. This man took my husband, took your uncle away from us. But I don't know how he feels. I don't know how he feels about what he did. And I don't seek vengeance, Peter. I love your uncle.
I wish he was here now, but vengeance, holding on to that, can be a poison, Peter. It can be a venom.
And she doesn't say that, but she should have fucking said a venom and be like, brilliant. Brilliant. She just says it's a poison. I'm like, you fucking lost opportunity. I would have done it there. I've been like, yeah, I'm a writer. Oh, I am doing it. Siri, go ahead and, am I frozen? Am I good? I'm good. Go ahead and refresh your browser. Go ahead and refresh your browser. Nudge, 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 nudge. That was me. I did the poison venom line that Aunt May said. Cool, huh? And he's like, fuck, all right, well, I can't win. Jesus Christ. All right, sure. All right, great, whatever. After that, where are we now? I'm trying to remember. Talking about MJ. Oh, yeah. MJ, apparently, again, remember I told you, chat, that she has no money, even though she's working on Broadway, off Broadway. She didn't save any money, and she has to get a waitress job. And I was like, what kind of, you don't have an accountant? Like, you're an actress. I'm sorry, if you're working on Broadway, even off, you're making fucking money. Because she was on she was doing a Broadway show, she was doing off-Broadway productions. You're making fucking bank, okay? There's no fucking way, but she needs to get she's gonna work as a waitress slash singer at a jazz club now. So we learn about that. After this, she calls Harry because she's very upset about the situation, and Harry's just painting. Because Harry's just like, I love painting, and he's like painting fucking finger paints and shit. No, he actually he's painting like a bowl of fruit or something. It actually looks really nice. And he picks up the phone. He goes, "Hey there, stranger. How you doing?" He goes, "Hi, Harry. Listen, I'm feeling kind of lonely right now, and I just really want to see you. Is that okay?" He goes, "Yeah, sure. We'll hang out. I'll get food. Yeah, I'll be great. I'm really hungry." She goes, "Okay, we'll get food." And he hangs up, and we go into my fucking favorite scene. He's high on life and paint. Yes, he is. We get one of my favorite scenes in the movie where he's like, Bernard. He's like, "Harry, sir." He's like, "Bernard, we have any food?" Food, sir. Bernard, don't fuck with Harry now that he's derpy. It's like, "Food, Harry. Food." He's like, "Bernard, we need food. I'm having a guest coming over." Guest, sir. "Bernard, I'm gonna fucking beat you, old man. Get my fucking..." Anyway, he's like, "Just get some food right away, sir." And he waddles off to maybe get some food. We assume. I guess he gets eggs. He gets onions and sweet peppers, I think. Mary Jane comes over, and they start making breakfast for dinner, I guess. And then they turn on the tunes, and they just start dancing. They just start dancing, doing the twist, and yeah, we're having such a great time just dancing and eating food. Harry's like, "I love food. I love dancing. And I love you, MJ." And they start fucking smooching. MJ's like, open tongue kiss and smooching. Harry, "I got pain lessons from the president, but shh, he doesn't want to know he can pain." Thank you, Luke the Boss. Appreciate you. But they start smooching. She's like, "No, this is wrong. Harry, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have led you on like that. I was just really vulnerable, and I'm hungry, and I gotta go." And she leaves, and he's like, "Wait." And then at this point, Harry's like, "Well, I don't love food anymore. I'm sad because MJ left, so I'm just going to drink copious amounts of hard liquor to remember shit." And this is, Barry chat, you drink whiskey to remember things. Because you always have a clear head when you start drinking. And Harry just starts fucking guzzling down whiskey from a very expensive crystal bottle. And chat, whoa, we hear him. Chat. He's like, "What's that?" "You're taking your eye off the ball, son." "Who's there?" "Have you forgotten me? Your father?" He's like, "Oh," and he looks at the mirror and he sees himself. He's like, "Yes, Harry, I'm still here." and you need to avenge me. And he gets all the flashback shot to Spider-Man, the body of his father, unmasking Peter after he's brought back to his abode by Dr. Octavius, Dr. Octopus. He sees, oh, so hit him at once, and then boom, he's like, and he looks at the mirror, he goes, hello, Harry, it's me, Dad. Oh, Dad, he's like, I've always been here, Harry. I've been inside you this whole time. And he's like, Dad, I don't know what to do. You have to do it, Harry. You need to kill him. You need to make Spider-Man pay. But he's my best friend. Peter must pay. No! And he throws, like, the whiskey bottle through the mirror. And he goes inside. And it's the goblin lair and shit. All the stuff is there, the formula, pumpkin bobs. And then he's like, oh, Father, I remember. I know what needs to be done. He's like, what must I do? The warrior must strike first. What must I do? His heart, Osborn. Make him wish he was dead. Go for his heart. We bring back the Malcolm Richard movie. I love it. I love it. And so after this fucking scene, chat, we then immediately cut to MJ's apartment where she just walks in. It's very dark, and she's putting down her stuff. And then, boom, Harry fucking is in the room, full new goblin, extreme goblin gear, and he fucking picks her up, just rams her against the wall. He's like, all right, listen to me, fucking you stupid fucking bitch. You're gonna fucking break up with Peter Parker. You're gonna make him wish he was dead. He's like, what the fuck is happening? Because maybe at one point, Peter, you should have told Mary Jane Watson that Harry's dad, Norman Osborn, who, if I recall, the last time he talked about you as a whore, is do what you want with him and brew him fast, kick him to the curb. That his dad was the Green Goblin who kidnapped you, tried to hurt you, tried to kill you multiple times, kidnapped you once, and nearly threw you off the Brooklyn. I mean, did throw you off the Brooklyn fucking bridge. You should have told her this. And that. Anyway, you got to make him fucking hurt and shit. And so eventually, MJ calls up Peter, and they want to meet at Central Park. And he's like, cool, all right, it'll be great to talk, because she's got something serious to talk about. Look at boss, look at the video. Wait, did you skip over the part where she kind of cheated? Oh, no, I covered that. The kissing shit? No, I covered that. Yeah. When she kisses fucking Harry and they're dancing and eating eggs for breakfast, or eating eggs for dinner. Oh, I covered that, baby. She's like, I need to leave. I feel bad. And anyway, Peter meets MJ in the park. And he's like, oh, MJ, it's so good to see you. And she's like, Peter, listen, I got to tell you. And he's like, uh-oh. He's like, I got to be honest with you. Harry is right over there. He's secretly the Green Goblin, or his dad was the Green Goblin. That's what I would have said. But like, just fucking tell him he's Spider-Man. Harry's literally looking at us by that tree. Harry's just like, fuck, I've been made. Just tell him. Where he's saying, when are you singing hero? And they say that a hero can save us. Oh, I will, Naya. Bravo. Not gonna stand here and wait. And they're watching us fly away. That's not what she says, even though that's what she should have obviously said. No, what she actually says is, Peter, I don't love you anymore. I need someone who needs to be there for me. I'm breaking up with you. And we get the first true ugly Tobey Maguire cry. He's like, what? He starts ugly crying like he always does. Hannah, thank you for the 5 minutes. Appreciate that. But he's like, I have like the ring and stuff, and I was gonna propose to you. And she's like, oh Jesus, oh I can't. Yeah, I gotta go. And she fucking leaves. And she passes by Harry, who's like in sunglasses and a trench coat, and he's like, great job. What a performance. He's just like hamming it up at this point. Oh, that scene, it's so fucking funny. We're gonna do all the Harry scenes are funny. They're all fucking funny. and just weird. And then we're at one of my other favorite scenes in the movie. And I say favorite scenes, I meant like it's so bad that it's good. But like Harry has called Peter to meet him at a coffee shop. Thank you for the biddy, by the way, Jason. I meet him at a coffee shop, and they sit down, and like, you know, they're having coffee, and fucking Peter's just like, yeah, I met her in the park. She wanted to talk to me, and she says that she wants to break up, and it says I'm not paying attention to her anymore. And yeah, man, I'm just really lost, buddy. And Harry's just like, I'm sorry, Peter. I'm sorry, but listen, I mean, she's going through a lot right now. I mean, her career, I mean, you know, money issues and things. And, you know, she took that job, that wait. I mean, we can go from Broadway to then waiting tables at that jazz bar, that jazz club. It's going to affect your mindset, man. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, oh, yeah, she told me about it. He's like, wait a minute. My girlfriend told you that she's working there? He goes, yeah, listen, Peter, it's going to come as a shock. That's why I called you out here today. Yeah, man. Listen, there's another thing. She's seeing another guy. He goes, what? He goes, yeah. And that guy is me. And he's like, Peter's like, what? Yeah, man, listen. Yeah, she came to my place. She was hurting. She was vulnerable. And yeah, man, we were dancing, eating food. Bernard, food is great. I love pie. We were eating food, buddy, and we started kissing, man. And you know I always loved her. You know I've loved her ever since I saw her. And Peter's just like, I need to go. I can't believe I'm hearing this. And he goes, all right, man, well, you want to call me? Give me a little ring-a-ding-ding. And Peter just walks out, just kind of like in a state of shock. And we come back to Harry, and the waitress walks up. He's like, oh, want me to freshen up that coffee for you? He goes, yes, please. She freshens up. He's like, how's that? And she goes, how's that pie? And he takes the fork and goes, so good. I love it. So good. And so then Peter is walking out the coffee shop. And he's like over the other side of the street, and he turns around, and Harry, I kid you fucking not, is like, looks at him like, winks at him, and Peter's like, you motherfucker. And then his car goes, this truck passes by, and Harry just disappears like Batman. And it's ain't I a stinker? It's fucking brilliant. I love it. It's so stupid. It's over the top. Eventually Peter gets pissed. He's obviously like, okay, well, clearly here he remembers everything. He's the new goblin again, the extreme goblin. He goes back to his apartment, opens up the suitcase, takes the black suit, puts it on, heads to Harry's place. Harry is just fucking drinking whiskey, just waiting, just like, yeah, he'll be here soon. And then fucking Peter shows up. He's like, oh, Peter, excuse me. So good to see you. And Peter's all like, stay away from my girlfriend, dude. And he's like, I can't, Peter. You know I can't help myself. I loved her. And you, such a little fucking pussy. Growing up all those years lusting after her. And you know, I was the first one to kiss her. And oh, that kiss. And he does this disgusting, gross thing. He does this. Oh, that taste. You know what it is like, Peter. Strawberries. And he's like, what? He fucking goes at her. And this is like a cool idea where it's just both like not in their super suits. Peter has the suit underneath him, but he's just in regular clothes. Harry's, he has like some of the blades that pop out of his arms, but they're like just throwing each other around this room. And the thing is, like, this is an interesting scene. And if it was just choreographed better, be like, this is really cool to showcase. Because I love how in the Holland movies, Tom Holland, when he's not in the Spider-Man suit, he's still doing cool Spider-Man things, hopping around and battling people. Like, I like that. It looks really cool to me. Here, it's like, I like the idea, but it's just not executed well. Thank you, Chris. I like the alternate version of the scene when Peter's just chilling on Harry's couch and says, can't wait to beat the shit out of you. Yeah, that's right. That's right. But they're throwing each other around the room and shit, and it's kind of awkward blocking. And at one point, Peter throws Harry through through a window onto the patio. And he's like, I protected you in high school, and now I'm gonna kick your little ass. And Peter goes, ooh. It's just really corny. And they keep throwing each other around the room. Eventually, I think Harry throws Peter through the goblin. I just installed that mirror through the secret mirror door. They go in there. They start fighting, all that shit. Harry grabs a goblin sword, which is like, why didn't you use that early in the movie? Well, I guess he did try to use it. He did try to stab Peter with it earlier in their first fight scene. He slashed at it, activates all the goblin equipment, the snowboard spin around the room and shit. Eventually, hits Harry in the head, and Peter just goes, bah! He just punches Harry, flings him all the way back. He's like, oh, Jesus. And Peter's like, listen, sit down, Harry, sit down. He's like, I can never do that. You killed my father. I loved him, and he loved me. And Peter, he's like, I'm going to tell you something, Harry. I'm going to give you the fucking God-honest truth. Your father resented you. He hated you. He despised you. He loved me. I was everything he wanted in a son. And which is like, yeah, it's true. You're not wrong. And Harry's like, fuck you. And he tries to get up and hit him. And then he just, pop. Peter just hits him in the fucking throat. Like, and he goes back down. He falls on his ass. And Peter goes, ugh. He flips his hair and shit. And he walks away. But Harry's like, he does it. He fucking pulls a Frieza from Dragon Ball Z, chat. Where Goku's like, I'm giving you enough energy so you can leave Namek and live. And we be good, all right? We're done. I'm telling you, we're done. And he's like, I'm walking away. And Harry pulls a freeze. He's like, nah. He grabs a pumpkin bomb, has it, throws it at Peter. And Peter's like, you fool! And he flings it back at Harry. No lies detected. No lies detected. Throws it back at Harry. Just explodes right on his fucking face. And it's like, oh, we'll see the results of that. And he just walks away. He just fucking walks away, chat. Eventually, Harry, it's later I guess it's the next day. I guess Harry Osborn is dead? I don't know. It's the next day, and Peter sees all these newspapers, the Bugle, and it's this picture of black-suited Spider-Man with these giant, very fake-looking money bags swinging away from a bank, and Peter's like, what the fuck? And it says, photos by Eddie Brock. Remember when Brock was taking all those pictures earlier when Spider-Man thought he killed Sandman? Well, apparently, Chad, Eddie Brock did some photo manipulations, and we cut to the Daily Bugle, where the Bugle's celebrating because they've done like 15 reprints. Everyone's reading about Spider-Man's a criminal now that he's black. Racism. I was like, oh, now he's a criminal now because he's got a black suit. Okay. All right, movie. Okay, Sam Raimi. Jesus fucking Christ. Not a great look for the Bugle is all I'm saying. Canceled indeed. Cancel Eddie Brock. So Eddie Brock was gifted the staff job. Everyone's celebrating with champagne, and Eddie's just being a fucking creepy guy. Peter walks in, and he's being like, hey, man, I saw those pictures. He's like, oh, Peter, listen, man, I know we're both going for the staff job, but hey, from one photographer to the other, I mean, the best man won. Am I right, everybody? Just like not humble at all. Peter's like, yeah, listen, look at your pictures. I noticed a few things. And he shows like all these errors and is like, yeah, it looked really familiar to me. He's like, haha, yeah, man, yeah. Listen, I'll pay you whatever you need to pay. Just, I need this job, okay? I need this. And he's like, and fucking Peter's just like, boom, he puts him up against the wall. He has this big frame picture of the black suit Spider-Man stealing the money. He's like, it'll destroy me. And he's like, you get what you fucking deserve. And he's like, hi, we're just joking, everybody, just a little horsing around. And Robbie's like, Peter, what's going on? He's like, you might want to check with your editor with these photos here. And Robbie looks at him, and he's like, you son of a bitch. And they go to JJ, and it's a fake. It's an old picture, which is obvious. It's an old picture printed by the Bugle, used by Peter years ago. And it's like, did you think you were going to get away with this? It's like, what the fuck? But, and fucking J.K. Simmons is pissed. He's just like, fucking Christ. And Robbie's like, we got to put a retraction. He's like, we haven't put a retraction in 20 years. He's like, well, we got to do it now. He's like, God damn it. And Eddie Brock's like, sir, listen, he's like, I just wanted this job. He's like, you're fired. You're fired. Get your shit. out of my office. And he's like, but I lose everything. He's like, good, you deserve to. He's like, no, and he fucking leaves. Eddie Brock gets everything he fucking deserves in this movie. He's a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit. He's despicable. He leaves and shit. And now, chat, we get the Bully Maguire montage shit. Everybody, step body, my funky self, and we get the whole thing. The fucking finger gun shit. Everybody, and all the ladies are like, "What the fuck?" Like he's going, "How you doing, hot stuff? Looking good, girl. Oh, you smell nice tonight." Everybody, everybody, and he's just doing all these moves, and we see this like he's doing he goes to the shop. He's doing dancing. He walks through these doors. Walks out wearing all fucking black, chat, just going, everybody, woo, yeah, ooh, yeah, woo. And we see him like eating cookies with Ursula. He's like, hey babe, cookie me. And she puts like a cookie in his mouth. He's like, can you get me milk? Can I get some milk over here, girl? And she goes, yeah, Peter, of course. And like fucking Dr. Kirk Connors is calling him. He goes, listen, yeah, I've been analyzing that substance, and I think it's like really dangerous. He's like, yeah, listen, doc, hold on. Cookie me. He's like, hey, can you put some nuts in these cookies right now? I'd be like, really good. She's like, I don't have any that I can make. She's like, yeah, make some fucking cookies with some like macadamia nuts or something. That'd be great. Anyway, cookie me. And he's doing all this shit. I can't. Listen, this was a rated R film. There would have been a scene of him smashing, absolutely fucking. There is almost a scene of him fucking Betty Brant. And so we see the cookie thing of Ursula. We see him doing the fucking dance moves in New York. We see him with the hair, looking like this and shit. We cut to the Daily Bugle, where he is right on top of Elizabeth Banks. Like they're this close. Like it's this close to me in the mic, chat. Like this. How you doing, girl? She goes, Peter, wow, you look different. He goes, yeah, you know, how about you come back to my place and show you a little more of me? And she's like, it's like, what the fuck is happening? Like they should have just started fucking right there. And then J.K. Simmons kills it. He still, despite this movie being bad, he kills it in this scene because he walks out. He's like, Miss Brad, I didn't pay you to have sex with my employees. I didn't hire you for that kind of thing. I love it. He says, I didn't hire you for that kind of thing. And Peter's like, listen, I want that staff job, okay? Here's some more pictures of Spider-Man doing cool shit. And he goes, all right. And he's like, but I have conditions. And JJ's like, wait, what? I have conditions. I want the staff job. I want a fucking byline with any story with Spider-Man. And he does a hair thwip, chat. Hold on. Ugh. I want double the pay. And then he goes into JJ's office, puts his feet on the desk, and just starts eating candy. And JJ's just like, what is happening? I heard you to fuck me. Exactly. It's just weird. I mean, I would definitely hit that. I wish they gave more, like, this scene, I will say, I felt the hotness. I felt the sexual tension between Elizabeth Banks and Tobey Maguire in this scene. I was like, yeah, I can see these two go at it. That would have been kind of cool. I'm interested to see a Peter relationship with Betty, you know. And they dated briefly in the comics. It was hot. And he does all this shit, more montages and everything. And it's just like, oh my God, it's this scene and another one that's gonna come up in a couple minutes. It's infamous. This is one of the most infamous scenes in the movie. It's awful. They mock it now. It was mocked in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse in the opening montage, and when we had Chris Pine, I think he voices the initial Spider-Man in the beginning of the film, and he's like, I also did this, and he says everybody, and I was like, oh, it's so weird. I think they're Jolly Ranchers between this and BVS. Don't put Jolly Ranchers in your mouth in a movie. Don't do it. In a movie, I think movie in general, or a comic book movie, definitely. So fucking weird. Also, we cut to, I don't know, some fucking waste dump or something, and the Sandman's alive. He's pulling himself back together, chat, and he's getting out of it, but he's like filled with feces now. He's like really stinky. He smells like feces. He's like sand feces now. And he's like, this fucking sucks, but I gotta do it for my daughter. She needs money for surgeries. I don't know. We don't even know what is his daughter sick with? It's never explained. She clearly has like a breathing problem, lungs, heart. Who fucking knows? I don't know. But he's alive in case you thought he was dead. He actually didn't die in the water. Just fucked him up real good. He's covered in feces now. He's cat box, man. Yes, he would have to absorb all of that from the cat. I love that. Yeah, cat box. Cystic fibrosis. Okay, fair enough. Early corona. She's sick with movie disease. Yes, she has the movie disease. Anyway, we then cut to the jazz nightclub that Mary Jane Watson is working at, and she waits tables and she sings songs and shit, which actually is a real thing. But at the front of the nightclub, in the entrance to it, we see Tobey Maguire, full fucking black suit, everything, guy liner all around his eyes, black dyed hair at this point. And we see that he has Gwen Stacy with him. And apparently he wanted to take her out on a date. And she's like, whoa, Peter, I've never been to a jazz club before. It's really nice. He's like, don't worry, doll. I'll get you in here. She's like, are you sure? Can we get seats? And Peter then turns to a waitress at the door. I guess the maitre d'. And she goes, how you doing there, hot legs? Why don't you find us some shade? And she goes, oh, yes, of course, sir. And she fucking does it. Hot legs, find us some shade. They then go to sit down at this table, and they're like, wow, this is so cool. But Peter's not even looking at Gwen Stacy, because this whole thing, he wants revenge on Mary Jane for breaking, even though he knows, obviously, that Harry it doesn't make any sense. He knows that Harry orchestrated the stuff that he did with MJ, obviously, at this point, but the symbiotes, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Fuck with his mind. And he sits there, and it's all done to just fuck with MJ. Because at one point, the manager, who actually treats her very well, he's like, oh, Mary Jane, you can go up and perform this song. She goes, thanks, Bob, thanks. And she goes up on stage, and Peter's like, here, I'll be right back. I got to use the water closet. And he gets up. She goes, okay, no problem. I'll order drinks for us and everything. And they start to play this song, and she's getting, Mary Jane's getting into it, about to start singing. And then Peter, and it turns into a musical. It turns into a musical, chat, where Peter suddenly enters the stage and starts playing the piano. Somehow, Peter knew how to play the piano, or the symbiote imbued him with piano jazz playing abilities. I'm still not sure. And we get one of my favorite lines where he starts looking around the room, and he's like, all right, you cool cats, now dig on this. And he gets a song and dance number, chat, where the band starts playing and he starts hopping and dancing around the room and going, whew, throwing off his clothes, throws his jacket at MJ, and where he literally, when he does this with his shirt, boom, it creates a breeze that goes across Gwen Stacy and everyone in her vicinity. And she's like, oh my God, put a baby in me. And he just is fucking dancing. He's jumping up in the air on the fucking ceiling fans and chandeliers. Like, wow, this guy is probably Spider-Man because of how he's moving and how he's doing 5 flips in the air and shit. Yeah, it's Spider-Man. And so he's doing all this. He then goes to, he's moving around a chair, sliding back and forth on a chair and shit. Yeah, everybody with that funky stuff. Woo! And all that. And then he takes Gwen Stacy and they start doing a fucking dance and shit. MJ's just like, and he just fucking dips Gwen Stacy, and her bazungas are like right in her, her chin, right in her neck, chat. And he goes, how'd you like them apples? And MJ's like, and then, but then Gwen Stacy sees MJ and she's like, did you do this for her? To get back at her? Peter, I thought you were a good guy, but you're a real piece of shit. And she leaves. I'm like, good for Gwen Stacy. Good for her. Where she's like, fuck you, man. Using me to get back at your ex-girlfriend? I mean, what I did earlier in the movie when I was fucking lusting on you and grabbing your dick and you're rubbing your neck and shit, shitty on my part. I realize that. But fuck you, man. And she leaves. And that's the last scene I guess she has in the movie. unless she's also at Harry Osborn's funeral, which again, never met her. They've never interacted in the movie, but she's somehow at the. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Christian, I think is I like that she apologizes. She does. She turns to MJ. She says, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry," and she leaves. She does leave. And at this point, Toby's just like, "Fuck." Everyone's like, "Yeah, you suck, man. You suck." And MJ's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And he goes, "It's like, well, why the fuck are you working here? Some dumb broad waitress now." And she said, why are you talking to me like this? You're not like this. And the manager comes over and he's like, "All right, buddy." He calls some of the bouncers over. He's like, "All right, stop harassing the lady." He's like, "I'll fucking harass her if I want." He starts throwing these guys across the room and like hitting them. Like, she's like, and Manjay's like, "Peter, stop!" And he fucking reels back, turns around, goes, bah! And backhands her down again. If he was using his full strength, he would have knocked her fucking head off, chat. And the thing they do here, it's like he backhands her hard, but I guess not to make him as bad of a guy, they muffle the sound effect of the slap. Because when you backhand, that makes a slap sound, chat. What you hear is you hear like a tap. And it's like, no. He fucking backhanded her, chat. And then she's like, what? She should be dead. Talk about, I think of that 10 minutes. A scene with Eddie Brock coming to the Stacy's front porch and begging Gwen to take him back his film, but not including the final version. And Lacey connects with Gwen being his original kidnap victim, which is also cut. Whoa, that would have been fucking cool. That would make sense. Him being a fucking creepy, stalker, or, serial killer guy. Kind of like Cleus Cassidy in a way. But they specifically isolate they eliminate the sound effect because obviously the audience would have been like, fuck this guy. And so it's like, that's, I think that's kind of shitty. But the whole thing is like, we can't make Spider-Man a woman beater. Like, I get that. It's like, that's a step too far. It's like, yeah, you probably should. You should have reworked that scene. You should have had the scene where, what would have been better? You know what would have been better, chat? This is how now again, I ain't Sam Raimi. I'm never going to be as talented as that man, but I will say this. I think what you could have done is you could have had him throwing the guys back and him like acting crazy, and MJ comes up behind him to help him, and he turns around and is about to hit her, and he stops himself. He's like, holy shit, he could have killed her. And then he's like, oh my God. And then he runs out. I think that would have been a lot better instead of like backhand slapping her. Just me. Anyway, she says, who are you? And he's like, I don't even know. And this is when he realizes, like, all right, the black suit's doing crazy shit to my brain. Or he just shoved her to the ground and would have got, maybe just shoving her. Yeah, shoving her, I guess would have made more sense. I would just like the idea, like, him, like, using his full strength and, like, him almost hitting her and be like, oh, shit, I could have killed you. And it's because of the aggression of the black suit. After that, he's all fucking mopey and sad. It's raining outside. And he goes to this really creepy Gothic-looking church in the middle of New York City. And he's just sitting up there. It was used on the posters and the trailers. He's like, I'm sad and shit. I got to get this off of me and whatever. And he tries to get up, but it's not working. And he goes inside the church. And he starts, like, trying to pull at the fucking symbiote. But it's just not coming off. It's not coming off at all. Meanwhile, we cut to Eddie Brock, who is apparently lost everything, and he's gone to the church, cat, because Tobey Maguire tells him early in the movie, he's like, hey, you got a problem? Get religion. That was the line earlier when he gives the photos to Robbie, and then they fire him. And apparently Eddie Brock took Peter seriously, because he goes to the church, he goes to the front pew, and he's like, God, Jesus, Jesus, I don't know, man, whatever your name is. Listen, I know I haven't been the best Christian, but I just have one thing to ask of you, and that's to kill and murder Peter Parker. It's like, what? Yeah, could you just kill this guy for me? Could you just murder pretty please of sugar on top Peter Parker? And God's like, all right. And apparently God's like, I will give you the ability to kill Peter Parker, but I can't do it myself. I can't interfere. I can't do it. I'm not Old Testament God anymore, man. You gotta do that shit yourself. I'm New Testament. And so then meanwhile, we cut back to Peter, who's trying to rip off the symbiote suit, but this thing's like, honey, I'm staying. I'm like a tick. I'm embedded in that thick ass of yours. And Peter's like, fucking shit. But he hits the bell to the church, and this creates a very loud sound. The symbiote's like, oh my God, it's the worst thing in the world. It goes, whoa, and it detaches from Peter. That's when we first see it as the Venom suit with the teeth and everything. And Peter's like, oh shit. And he starts hitting himself against the bell and playing the bell, and he starts tearing pieces of the suit off. Meanwhile, Eddie Brock hears the bell, and of course it's the famous scene from the comics, it's straight from the comics, where Peter's tearing the suit off of himself. Eddie's at the church begging God to kill Peter Parker because he showcased the fact that I'm a shitty person, a bad journalist. Okay, but he goes over there, and Eddie looks up at the bell tower, or right underneath where the bell is, and he goes, Parker. And he says it in that way. And then all these bits and pieces of the symbiote start falling down, and one of them gets. I like Eddie's reaction to the symbiote is good, because it's what Peter's reaction should have been when it's like, what the fuck is on me? But like a piece falls on Eddie and it starts crawling towards him. He goes, fuck, and he tears at it, or he takes his jacket off and throws it. But then more bigger chunks, gloopy masses of venom splooge start coming down on, like literally coming all over Eddie, chat, just covering just a bukkake medley of venom coming all down on Eddie's face and shit. And Peter eventually he's naked, by the way. Peter's completely naked. So I like the idea that Peter rips the suit off, but he still has to get back home. But like he has to swing around the city just fucking with his dick and balls swinging in the breeze. I'm like, that's interesting. Meanwhile, Peter's like, oh, well, out of sight, like, okay, you tore the suit off, but you got to collect that shit. You got to destroy it. But he's like, nah, out of sight, out of mind. It's not my problem anymore. And he leaves, I guess. But the suit gets on the bukkake venom, gets on Eddie and stuff, and starts like, it's actually kind of fucking horrific, because it starts in taking his body, basically, like covering his entire body, and it does this really gross thing where the bukkake venom symbiote goes inside his mouth and goes, oh. It was like, oh shit, yeah, the idea that the symbiote actually goes inside of you too, and it's like jamming itself down his throat. He's like coughing it up until eventually he goes, he has the venom look and everything. I remember this scene in the trailer. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I remember like, wow, they're doing it right, but obviously it didn't happen. Also, does this mean Peter swung home naked? Yes, it does. It does. I have so many questions. Yes, I'm telling you, man, it happened. He was fucking, Spider-Man's dick and balls were swinging the breeze, and I bet his peen was super extra small because of him being a shitty boyfriend and being a woman beater. Witness! Witness me! Mr. Hummendinger, thank you so much for the raid. How you doing, good sir? Hope you're doing well. Currently in the middle of my review for Spider-Man 3. I told you, it's a long review tonight, chat, and I'm still not done. Still not done. He had a small Peter. Hey. Oh, my Lord. Oh, definitely cool. No, he has like a micro peen at this point, and he deserves to. No, Mr. Armadillo, how you doing? Hope you had a good stream. What are you playing? What are you doing, my friend? I'll take a momentary break to ask. We're in the middle of the bukkake venom scene where the bukkake symbiote goes into Eddie Brock's mouth, and, you know what I'm saying. As a non-dog pooping raid. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Sure, no, he's definitely sure. No, the symbiote took his dick. That's what happens. See, you get the symbiote, but your dick is small. That's the thing. Alex Bonal, YouTube editor extraordinary. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Absolute pleasure to have you here. Doing great. I first streamed in the new apartment, played Trigger Witch. Nice, man. Nice. Sounds a good time. Chat, please do check out Mr. Humminator. Give this man some support. Follow him, subscribe to him, donate to him. Chat, appreciate you. Follow him on all the other his other platforms as well. But anyway, after bukkake venom, we then cut to Peter's apartment where he's taking a shame shower. It's a good, I'll tell you what, chat, this is a good shame shower because he's literally just like as the hot water's just coming down on him and just looking at it, he turns it off and he's still like, pathetic, fucking pathetic looking chap. But you know who's fucking there for him out of anybody? You know the one person who's there for him, chat? Mr. Dickovich. Because Peter comes out of the shower, he's all cleaned up. Mr. Dickovich is like, Peter. And he's like, I don't have your rent. Mr. Dickovich says, no rent. You buy pizza pie? Pizza is good. I want pizza. And he's like, okay, buy pizza today maybe? And he's like, sure. And he's like, yeah, I can do that. He's like, come talk to me. Talk to me. What's going on? Because he's trying to call. I think that's when Peter's going to try to call MJ. His phone broke. And he goes, no, I'm trying to call someone that I know. And his woman, hot woman, big breast woman. He's like, no. I mean, she's got nice. I gotta go, Mr. No, come, Peter, come talk to Mr. Dickovich. And he goes, okay, this character was an honor, Steve Ditko, and which is fucking so bizarre to me. And he's like, come talk to me. And Peter's like, sure, Mr. Dickovich. He's like, you are a good man. You're a good man. You're a good boy. I like you, Peter. You're a good tenant. Very quiet, except when screaming about Uncle Ben, Mary Jane, Spiderman. It's crazy. But you good man, and you call good woman, good man. Good woman. And that's it. That's all he says. And Peter's like, and he's like, yeah. And then Ursula comes in. He's like, Dad, I'm going to bake you some. He's like, good, you cook. Marry Peter, have baby. Breed. Purify bloodline. And he's like, all right. Yeah, okay. Call MJ, Peter, for the love of God. Just fucking call him. Call her, please. Ariel Penelope, you nice boy who bullies me and never pays rent. I love it. It's so goddamn good. Oh, my God. After the weird fucking scene of Mr. Dickovich trying to be nice to Peter, Aunt May comes to visit, and, he's like, Peter, are you inside the apartment, Peter? And he's like, I'll be right there, Aunt May. Is the door working? And she's like, no, it's not. I guess it's the first time, or in a long time she's been there. And she goes, oh, still looks like shit, Peter. He goes, I know. And the fucking door handle falls off. He's like, shit. And he's like, I just want to talk to you. I was calling and haven't heard from you, Peter. And he goes, I'm sorry, Aunt May. I've been going through a lot lately. Is it with Mary Jane? Everybody knows you love Mary Jane. I know. And he's like, Mary Jane and I are, she goes, I understand, Peter. It's okay. Relationship troubles are common. He goes, listen, you told me one time that I need to put my wife ahead of myself, and I realized I was not ready to do that. I realized that very recently. And he goes, here's the ring. And he gives the ring back to her. And she goes, why? Why, Peter? He goes, I'm just not ready. She goes, listen, Peter, we all have struggles. I can tell you're struggling. You're a millennial and you're heavily in debt. Ben and I were able to afford a house. He was an electrician at a dying plant for 50 years, and I make Jimmy Dean sausages, and we afforded a house, and you can barely pay for this piece of shit. But I know you, Peter. I know you. And it's not money issues. It's none of that things. I can tell something's wrong. He's like, I've done bad things, Aunt May. He goes, I understand. But the first thing you need to do to move on, to be a better person, Peter, is to forgive yourself. Which is good advice. Very good advice. Forgive yourself, Peter. And he's like, yeah, you're right. That is the first step. And then to make amends. And then to make amends and do what you need to do. You're a good man, Peter. And Mary Jane will be very blessed to have you. You keep this. You'll need it. And then she leaves, and that's the last I believe we see of Rosemary Harris, perhaps until the ending. She might show up for Harry's funeral. But that's the last. You're sending me, Chris. Emily, I'm glad you're liking this. Peter. That's my Aunt May voice. Don't worry, Chad. Even though this is the last appearance of Rosemary Harris's Aunt May, at least that we know of, she might be in Spider-Man No Way Home. I will still do the Aunt May voice. She had the funeral too, but she doesn't get any lines, right? And she's like, he's fucking dead, whatever. I will still do the Aunt May voice in the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, and Chat in Spider-Man, and all the other appearances of Spider-Man in the MCU. So the Tom Holland one, Civil War, Aunt May will live on, Chat. Don't you fucking worry. She'll live on, Chat. Marissa Tomei, Sally Field, I'm sorry, but that's the way it's going to be. So sexy Aunt May, Chat. Sexy Marissa Tomei Aunt May. She's going to sound like this, Peter.
Oh, Mary Jane's looking a little darker. I know my Peter loves that chocolate.
Little racist. She'll get a 93. Nice. I hope she does. Even the 50th reboot, she'll be like 15 period will be an infant. Yes. I love it. Oh my God. Anyway, after that, what happens here? Oh shit. So, okay. We then cut to New York City and Venom's swinging around and shit. And he's swinging down an alleyway. And then fucking Sandman just punches him out of the air. Flint Marko. He's like, listen here, Spider-Man. I don't want to hurt you. I'm not a bad guy. I just have a bad luck. And then fucking Venom goes, ah! He's like, fucking shit. He freaks out. Which you would if you thought it's like, oh, regular Spider-Man. And then the thing goes, ah! It's like, Jesus. And he's like, ah! He's like, whoa, you're not Spider-Man. He just starts walking away. And then he's like, hey, listen. Hey, for whatever reason, fucking Venom, like, Topher Grace gives him kind of like a, hey, Flint, how you doing, babe? Listen, I want to kill the spider. You want to kill the spider. How about we work together? Interested? And Sandman's like, okay. Now, he just agrees to it. Like, first of all, you've never met this creepy fucking alien thing before. And you're like, yeah, I'll agree to this. And they do this weird thing with Topher Grace where it's like, you have the... So for the suit, it doesn't have like the white spider. It's just black on black. But you do notice that the web design is kind of like all mismatched on Venom. And the reason for that is because he's not only is evil, but because Peter actually ripped off the symbiote, he damaged it. And so when it tries to put itself back together, it's kind of fucked up in areas. So it's like, oh, okay, there's a reason for why Venom looks that way. And the teeth thing is just, I don't fucking know. But for whatever reason, every time Venom starts talking, like the symbiote mask folds away and like Topher Grace has these little tendrils that connect various places. And they gave him these fucked up teeth for like no reason. He's like, even though he has like the regular Venom teeth. It's just weird. It's a weird design choice. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in my opinion. But now, so Sandman just agrees like, yeah, sure, I'll work with you, creepy tooth alien man. Now, in the video game, which I played, Spider-Man 3 the video game, which is a bad game, they do it, it's so much better. It doesn't make any sense, but it's so much better. Maybe they tried having the CG face talk, it didn't look so good. I guess so. I mean, I feel like the face talks occasionally, it's only a couple lines of dialogue, but it's like, it doesn't look good, but, you know, it's better than what they did. I think that's better than just than him having the thing come back. No, we, always I. Oh, Sandman can kick his ass. He doesn't say, so another big point, he says, does he say we? Because I know Venom refers to itself as we, Eddie Brock and the symbiote. We're like, we want to eat you and all that shit. But I think he refers to himself as I. Unless he says we, I don't remember, but that could be the case. That could be the case. I might have missed it. It should be we. I agree with you, DT Darkslayer. No, he always says I. Big flaw. Should have said we. We want to kill the spider. You want to kill the spider. Interested? Yeah. Now in the video games for Spider-Man 3, I don't know how this happens, but in order for Sandman to work with Venom kidnaps Sandman's daughter Penny and basically says, hey, I'm gonna fucking kill your daughter unless you help me kill Spider-Man. And Sandman's like, no, which makes sense because Sandman's always saying like, I don't want to kill anybody, even though at this point in the film he's killed a ton of people, but okay. Again, it would have made more sense to why he is now in league with Venom. It's a forced relationship, but they don't do that. All adaptations of the film had different versions of how they teamed up. All of them are better. There you go. Yeah, at least I know that's in the video game. I don't know what other versions. The book may have done something else, but I know that was in the video game. Remember, that's better. It's still goofy, but it's like, whatever. I guess Venom, Eddie Brock knows Flint Marko, Sandman. He goes to the fucking house, and I think he kills the wife, and he takes Penny, whatever. At that point. And so, they do this. Peter then goes to see MJ, but he gets cold feet and he looks at, he's like peeping, he's like a peeping Tom. Hey, MJ, I'm a peeping Tom. He's looking up at her in her apartment. She's just staying by the window like that and shit. And she spots him. And she's like, oh my God, Peter. She wants to go talk to him. And she goes downstairs. She's like, okay, I'm going to talk to him at his place. And she gets into a cab. And she's like, take me to Peter Parker's residence. And fucking Eddie Brock's the cab driver. Where you want to go, ma'am? But he's like a typical cab. He has the cabbie hat. He has the gear on. So I don't know if the symbiote is forming these clothes. Because in the movie, it doesn't. So, like in the comics and in the animated series, like it can form articles of clothing, which is actually pretty cool. You don't see that showcased in the film. It's always like underneath Peter's clothes. And so I don't know if it formed this. Who knows? It doesn't matter. But he's a cabbie and shit. And then after this, she's a damsel in distress for the rest of the movie like she always is. And we cut to this construction yard, and this big fucking crowd is gathered, and MJ just wakes up in the goddamn cab. I guess she got roofied by, or chlor. Venom's like, does it smell like chloroform to you? Chloroformed her, and she's just like, what the fucking shit? And she's suspended 40 stories, they say, above the ground in Venom's bukkake webbing. And Sandman's like, I'm here too. He's there. Darkseid, think about me, unless Venom was stalking MJ, the scene came out. He's just there. He's following Peter, I guess. But he knew she would need a taxi. Leave it alone. We're almost at the end of the movie, Chad. We're almost at the end of the movie. I'm not going to question. We can't question at this point. Stuff already is not making sense. If we start to read into things, it's like, it doesn't make any sense. After this, the news comes, like, Peter's sad and shit. He's at his apartment. He's just like, oh, I'm sad. And then the news comes on, and there's reporters like, there's a hostage crisis at this construction yard in the middle of New York City. The Sandman, along with an individual who people believed initially was the black suited, I don't like the way he said black, Chad. The black suited Spider-Man, but is entirely something else. And we see this personal cam footage of these SWAT team guys getting fucked up by Venom, like blood and shit. And it's like, oh shit, he's eating these people, I guess. But we believe it's some type of mysterious new villain. And, we're getting a report from Jessica. What do you have for us? Just again, Jessica's a British for whatever reason. And she's like, let me tell you, Jim, or what the fuck his name is. And he's like, it seems to me that the individual we've identified via helicopter, and it's Mary Jane Watson, which, by the way, I would say has also been kidnapped by notable supervillains, Dr. Octopus and the Green Goblin. But, like, I think there's a connection between Mary Jane and Spider-Man. I would read into that. Who's her significant other? Be like, Peter Parker? He's obviously Spider-Man. Again, whatever. But there seems to be one individual, Mary Jane Watson, recently Broadway star. Now, I love they mention her profession. Was a Broadway star, now a singing jazz waitress. I'm like, come on, man. Come on, man. And, there seems to be writing in the webbing, and it basically says, can you stop us, Spider-Man? ? It's like, all right. And Spider-Man sees this shit, and he's like, fuck. The symbiote and Sandman? Jeez. I don't think I could take him alone. And he's like, I need help. Well, I'm going to go to my best friend, pal, Harry. I'm sure he's doing great. We then cut to Harry, who's just drinking fucking whiskey, looking at a fireplace. Just the flames soothe him, I suppose, at this point. And then Peter shows up, and he's like, hey, hi. Listen, Harry, I know we've had a rough time as of late, but the symbiote and Sandman have captured Mary Jane, and we got to save her. And Harry's like, yeah? Oh, yeah? Look what you did in my fucking face. And basically, Harry looks like Two-Face now. It's like, ugh, I guess the healing factor doesn't really work all that great. At least he got fucked up too much. He's like blind in one eye. He's all like, yeah? Yeah, you want me to fucking help you at this point? He's like, listen, man, let's put aside our differences. And he's like, fuck you, Peter. Fuck you. And he sits back down, and Peter's like, shit. And so then Peter leaves, and then we get one of the most. You just described Spider-Man 3 and sorry, Emily, that's what I'm doing. Scene by scene by scene by scene breakdown. That's what I do. It's what I do. Breaking news: Mary Jane Watson is indeed boning Spider-Man more than 111. That's what they should have said. That's my reviews. It's one of my longest ones. It's a pretty long one. I knew it would be. That's why these are so much fun. And then we get one of the most infamous scenes in the movie. Definitely one of the worst ones. This might be the worst one. I mean, it's up there with the dance at the club scene, the montage, the emo montage scene, the retconning scene with Sandman. This one's up there, where Harry goes into his goblin lair and is looking at all his goblin stuff, and Bernard appears from the shadows, and he says, Harry, I've seen a lot of crazy shit in this house, but I've kept it to myself and my room of secrets. But I have something to tell you, Harry. He's like, wait, what? You knew about this? Yeah, I knew about it for years. Oh, yeah. You know, your father, the Green Goblin. Yeah, the thing is, Spider-Man didn't kill him. No. When Spider-Man brought his dead body, because I was in the room, I was in the shadows. Is he like in the crawl spaces? Is he like Scooby-Doo painting it? Where he's literally, like, you know in the Scooby-Doo cartoons, where they have the painting and they have the eyes and it's the guy's eyes going back and forth and shit? Is he doing that, just watching everybody? Is that what Bernard does? Is that what Norman hired him for? I don't know, chat. But apparently, he says, when Spider-Man brought him here, I was cleaning your father's wound. Why would you clean the wound if, again, he was supposedly murdered? You shouldn't touch the body, okay? It's whatever, Bernard. I was cleaning his wound, and I noticed that the wound was made by his own glider. Your father wasn't killed by Peter Parker, who is also Spider-Man. Your father killed himself by his own hand. And if I was Harry, I'd be like, I would have instantly started choking Bernard. I would have killed him. It's like he is the worst butler ever. And he just says, yeah, I guess go save Peter and Mary Jane and defeat. Did you know Eddie Brock is Venom? And the thing is, Harry, let me tell you, I know a lot of secrets. Did you know that Flint Marko was the one who actually shot Uncle Ben? But he's not a bad guy. He just has bad luck. And it is awful. I've been like, I would have fired him, and then I would have killed him. And I would have hid the body in his room of secrets. Number one. Thank you, Tiffany's. Of course, originally Gwen was going to be kidnapped for the final battle. Mary Jane would have talked sense into Harry instead of Harry's butler. Really has you change here. Yeah, that would have been better. That would have been better. Hey, you know this? He says exposition. Him and James Cromwell are just, hey, you know what? Let me tell you something. That's all they are, Rucker Birdie agreed. Get your shit out and get out of my house. Also, Han shot first. Did you know that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father? Soylent Green is people. It's heavily implied that Deckard is a replicant in Blade Runner. Oh, what else? What else? Oh, that Ripley is impregnated with an alien queen in Alien 3. That happened. Thanos. Tony Stark dies in Endgame. Joker kills Rachel. Oh boy, what else? The woman that Bruce Wayne was fucking in Dark Knight Rises is actually the daughter of. I get it, the Ra's al Ghul. Thank you, Bernard. Get the fuck out of here before I kill you. And so it's like awful. So then after this, we then cut to the hostage scene. Because there's that whole scene screams of student, especially since the original scene was just Harry looking at a photo of him and Peter, and MJ changed his mind. That's still kind of lame, though. Still kind of lame to me. It was flawed. It was flawed from its inception. The whole fucking thing. Eventually, we cut to the hostage scene. We get like a really, for whatever reason, and I understand why they did this in the original Spider-Man, but there's like a shit ton of American flags. And the big reason why is because Spider-Man came out right after 9/11. Like, because 2002, 9/11, I was 2001. there was a whole sequence. The initial teaser trailer was the giant web in the World Trade Center, and I think Sony mandated that you got to put a shit ton of fucking American flags in this, and they had the whole scene on the Brooklyn Bridge, which is put on there on purpose, where it's like New York's like, hey, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. That was done after the World Trade Center stuff because they wanted that in there. But for ever since then, there's like a shit ton, at least in the Raimi trilogy, shit ton of CGI American flags, and we see the biggest CGI American flag I've ever seen in a movie, where everyone's like, well, looks like MJ's gonna take, oh no, it's him, it's Spider-Man. And Spider-Man swings in and he lands in this building, and behind him is the biggest fucking American flag in the world. And then we get some really bad extras, and it's like, these are children of the executive producers or their grandkids or something like that, where Spider-Man goes in, one kid's like, wow, awesome, and one kid goes, wicked, literally goes, wicked cool. And I'm like, oh, it's awful. Thank you, Jason, for the mini. It's like, okay. And he swings in and he goes to the fucking cab car and he's like, hey, MJ, I'm gonna get you out of there. And she's like, Peter, watch out. And this fucking Venom comes in there, takes half the cab car out. She's holding on for dear life. Peter gets some battle damage. And then Eddie shows up there. He's like, how you doing, Parker? And then he's just, hamming it up. He's like, Eddie, because he fucking, the symbiote suit like reveals Eddie's face with the fucked up teeth, and Peter's like, Eddie's like, how you doing, Parker? Oh, my buddy and I, we're gonna take care of you. And he sees MJ like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. She goes, oh, look at this, got your girl. You took my girl, and now I'm gonna take yours. I think my spider sense is tingling, if you know what I mean. No. And he throws her and shit. And he's like, fuck shit. And he goes for MJ, grabs her, and gets her to safety or whatever. After that, he gets her to safety or some shit. And then he flies up there and he starts battling Venom in midair and things. And it's big CGI battle, typical shit. It's just like, all right. You think it'd be cool, like, fucking Venom and Spider-Man are falling in the air, and he's going, and all that shit, making little cat noise. You can forget the flag at the first one. The other two make no sense. Also, he's been an uber patriotic character. He's never been an uber patriotic character. Can I believe Eric Foreman left the semi-show for this? Yeah. Oh, this is the reason to do this movie? Wow. Well, I get it, man. The Spider-Man films were like some of the biggest box office draws of the mid-2000s, early in mid-2000s, so I totally understand why you would. Totally, that money, man, that movie money. I get it. They're falling midair. Eventually, fucking Venom kicks Spider-Man. This is kind of cool because Spider-Man, like, it happens like in the video games. Spider-Man tries to swing, but he hits the ground and goes boom. And that's like, oh shit, just like the game. And he like picks himself up. But then the Sandman reveals himself and he's become this giant sand golem. And he's like, and Spider-Man's like, oh, fucking shit. And so he's battling Sandman. But then he gets webbed by Venom, and Venom does some, like, BDSM shit on him, where he wraps his fucking bukkake symbiote webs around Toby's neck, and Toby's like, and Sandman literally just forms a giant hammer. He's like, I'm not a bad person. I just have bad luck. Anyway, gotta kill you. And he starts literally hammering, not in a sexual way, literally hammering Spider-Man to death. And then we have Jessica, so, oh, this is terrible to watch this. It's so terrible. And then you have Jim, the reporter at the station, is like, well, ladies and gentlemen, looks like this is going to be the end of Spider-Man. It's like, fuck you, Jim. Like, no one's going to help him. The fucking SWAT team, the National Guard's not going to get called in to save the one superhero we believe in the world. It's like, nah, fuck him. Yeah, we can't get involved. But then, Chad, we cut the Sandman, who lifts up his fucking giant, dumb-looking hand to smush Spider-Man one last time. How about the activities they kept out over his bad lip ad-lib? Looks like I upgraded from vanilla to strawberry. Ugh. Ugh. That is so bad. Oh, that's pretty bad. Oh my God. Good. Good. It looks like Spider-Man granted all the time, Zodi. Right before he's about to lift up his big stupid hand, the smush Spider-Man, you hear this boop, 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 and like this goblin bomb, he's like, huh? And it blows up his head. And then who comes in to save the day, chat? It's Harry Osborn. Everyone's like, and then fucking the British girl's like, hey, it seems to be a guy from the X Games who's here to help Peter Parker. And it's like, or Spider-Man, whatever the fuck his name is. And he flies in, and Harry hits Venom out of the way. And Venom's like, wow, and he webs out of there. And eventually, Harry, he goes right down to Peter. And Peter's like, you came. He's like, I couldn't leave my friend hanging. And then we get like some really weird dialogue between them. Like, hey, we're buddies now. We're a team. We're partners. I'm like, I would be like, I fucking hate you because you burned my face off. But I know that these guys are evil, and I want to save the woman I love. And they're just being buddy-buddy, and it's like, you didn't earn this. None of this is earned here. It lacks any earnestness in any capacity, chat. It's so inauthentic. It's just camp. It's just corny camp. And it's like, ugh. And so they're doing the whole thing where, Peter's like, oh shit, I need some backup over here. And Harry's like, you think you got problems? And he's squaring up against Sandman, and they're tag teaming like, yeah, buddy, woohoo, and all that shit. And they're fighting Venom off. They're fighting Sandman off and everything. And Harry's like, there's some cool things. Like, Harry uses his fucking snowboard to, inject, like, it shoots out these fucking flames, and it covers Sandman. It turns his sand into glass, because when you fucking burn sand that much, it turns the glass. It's like, okay, I get it. Superheat sand turns to glass. And he's breaking apart. He's like, oh, fucking shit. Oh, God, another weakness. And doing all that stuff. At one point, Sandman and Venom are coming both at Toby and James Franco. And, like, Spider-Man goes on, like, he's right behind, he's in front, whatever, he's on the snowboard with him, and, Harry's like, hang on, he's like, and Peter's like, hang on to what? By the way, Peter's mask is off at this point, Venom ripped it off, so everyone has seen Spider-Man. Also, on the ground, J.K. Simmons is there, J.J. Jameson, he's like, Parker, where are my Spider-Man pictures? And there's actually kind of funny, there's this little girl who's like, hey, kid, he's taking pictures of a camera, and he's like, hey, kid, how much for that camera right there? She goes, $100 fucking dollars. He's like, $100? All right, whatever. And he takes your $100, and he takes it. He's like, he opens it up. There's no. He's like, where's the film? She's like, film's extra, motherfucker. And I was like, good businesswoman, chat. She'll have a bright career. But anyway, we have the whoa, buddy. Let's fight the bad guys. James Franco defeats Sandman. He shoots rockets at him, and he like, and he dissolves into like sand. Eventually, Toby, he ends up inside of I think two boys were Raimi's kids. They are not good actors. I knew it. I fucking knew. They were like, these are some producer's kids or something. There you go. Not great. I don't mean to hate on kids. I don't want to hate on kids, but could have put them in a better scene. Or used them better. Anyway. Wicked cool. We then cut inside. I remember this in the trailers. This is like the second trailer for the movie. I will say the market of this movie was great, and I think this was the trailer, not the teaser. I know they had like a teaser beforehand with Venom, but there was like two main trailers, and this was like the end scene of the last trailer they did, where Spider-Man was like looking around in the and you hear all this, you hear the Venom sounds and shit. It's like, this is pretty cool. It's kind of scary. And like, cause he doesn't know where Venom is, and he like stops, and Venom literally comes down and grabs his head and like this and lifts him up into the air. It's really cool. It's like, all right, I like that. So I like this scene here. It's like it works. And then he just beating the shit out of Spider-Man, and he webs him up with his Bukkake symbiote splooge, and he's like, oh, and then fucking Venom starts beating at him with a pipe, and he has this really bad line. He's like, never kill. What was he say? No, yeah, he hits him. He says, never wound what you can't kill. And he's like, oh, God damn it. It's awful, awful, awful. And he's like, this is the end for you, Peter. Oh, that's when like, James Franco comes in to stop Venom. He's like, I got you, buddy. And fucking Venom hits him with the fucking pipe. And Harry, severe cranial trauma. Boom, bop, bop. Hits like 5 metal beams and lands on the ground right next to them. And Venom's like, well, Peter, I guess this is the end of you. Send my regards to the previous villains. And he's about to, to your Uncle Ben or whatever the fuck. And he's about to stab him. And Harry's like, no. And I'm like, you could have just pushed Venom away. You could have hit him. But no, Harry's like, I gotta self-sacrifice, baby. Gotta do that self-sacrifice. And okay, that's right. Venom using the glider against, that's right, because he takes the glider. He's gonna stab Spider-Man with it. Because he has, it's just like how his father died. And Harry jumps in front of the glider, goes right through him, right through the heart, and like in his tum-tum. And he's like, ugh. Peter's like, Harry! And then Venom's like, fuck you, and just flings him, and he goes, boom, pop, 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 pop. Falls down like 39 stories shed till he hits the ground. MJ's like, oh shit, Harry, I'm in the movie still. I'm a damsel in distress. I'm gonna go check on Harry. And then fucking Venom's like, all right, I'm gonna stab you this time, Peter. I'm gonna stab you. Peter is like so mad about Harry that he freezes one hand and he grabs because he noticed when Harry hits the beam and all these pipes fall down, they cause the sound, and that fucking hurts Venom. And Spider-Man realizes, oh shit, the sound is his weakness, and so he frees himself, grabs the two pipes that are like right next to him, and goes boing, and it hurts Venom, and Venom Eddie is like blown back. He's like, Bill Casey, based on these wounds, Harry clearly impaled himself. Am I right? Darkseid, thank you for the 5 base. Remember this one comic where Peter was a train stop. Was a train stop Venom who was show pushes him and the train nearly hits him. Wish something like that would have been happened to Bill. That would have been funny. Like, hey! Anyway, so he hits the fucking metal pipes, and Venom's like, no. And then Peter starts implanting the metal pipes in the concrete ground of the floor, and boop, 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 and just surrounds Venom in this kind of like pipe prison. He defeats Venom with pipes, Chad. The power of pipes. Peter's just laying down that pipe on Venom, chat, laying it down hard. And so he then grabs it and he fucking hits this one pipe against all of them, just making music and shit. And eventually the symbiote's like, run! And you can see Eddie in the symbiote. He's going, oh, oh. And Peter just grabs, he webs Eddie, pulls him out of the symbiote, and he's like, whoa, and shit. Not naked, by the way. He's just in his regular clothes. Thank God. Did not need to see Topher Grace's peen. Thank you very much. But then Eddie's like, oh, I need it. And then we hear this, and this is actually really cool. I was like, I mean, it's a little dated, the special effect, but I like again, it's a little dated, but it's pretty scary. Where Toby turns around and the symbiote is like it's growing, it's huge. It kind of like reminded me of The Thing, like John Carpenter's The Thing. It was interesting design here. And thankfully, he's like, I gotta kill this fucking thing because this is gonna kill everybody. And he notices the glider, the snowboard right there, and he pops up those pumpkin bombs. Have fucked up a lot of people, chat. We get a little callback here to something else in a bit, but he takes it. And then he's like, Peter, what are you doing? And he fucking throws it at the symbiote, and he's like, no! And he jumps in, and fucking Peter's like, Eddie! And then explodes, chat. And the symbiote is disintegrated, it dies. We also see that Eddie becomes the skeleton from the first Spider-Man, like how when the pumpkin bomb goes, it's weird how it affects different people. But it explodes, and Eddie turns into a skeleton, just like the board members in the original Spider-Man. Remember when he's like, out am I? And he throws the pumpkin bomb and goes, and they go, and they like turn instantly into skeletons. Same thing happens to Eddie. But Eddie and the symbiote are both dead, and it's like, oh shit. Well, that's not good. That's not good. He's like, whatever. Out of sight, out of mind. He's like, oh well. And then Sandman shows up, and he's like, hey, I didn't want to work with him, but I did. But I'm not a bad person. I just want to help my daughter. I just have bad luck. And Peter's like, hey man, we all make choices. We got to live with them. He's like, yeah, you're right. Listen, I just want to like actually tell you what happened that night. And we get another fucking retcon where I didn't want to hurt your uncle. I needed the car. And we get a scene where he's like, where we see, Cliff Robertson, he's in the car and shit, the Raimi Mobile. And you see Thomas Hayden Church knocking on the thing. He's like, hey, sir, can I talk to you? I need to talk to you. And he goes, wow, what's going on? And he opens the door, and he's like, I need your car. I needed money to help my daughter. She's sick. And the thing is, your uncle, he just wanted to talk to me, and he kept telling me, just go home, that it's okay, that he won't say anything. He knows that I'm hurting. He knows I'm not a bad guy. And
I knew he was trying to help me. I understand that now.
And then we see Frosted Tips, which I brought back for the movie. It was like, oh, cool, they brought back that guy. He's like, come on, man, we got to get going. And I guess when he tapped Thomas Hayden Church, Sandman on the shoulder, Flint Marco, the gun, and all of a sudden he tapped his, and the gun went off. It's like, sure, the gun just went off. Did you have your finger on the trigger the whole time? You don't fucking, whatever. Gun went off when he tapped my shoulder, and then your uncle died. And we see Frosted Tips takes off. He's like, come on, let's go. He takes off in the car. And Flint Marco's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sir. He's all sad and shit. And he's like, that's what happened. And at this point, I'm like, and Toby's like, Peter's like, I forgive you, but you're going to fucking jail. You've killed so many other people in New York. He's killed other people, chat. Whatever. Amateur criminals, I guess so. I just have bad luck. Fucking ridiculous. And Peter's just like, all right, man, I'm gonna go by my policy of out of sight, out of mind. I didn't see you. He's like, thanks. And he just dissolves into the wind, and he just goes away. That's it. He lets him go. I'd be like, fuck that. Fuck that. Either the gun went off or his penis is gun. Maybe. Oh, shit. What do you got loaded down there? But he just dissolves. And Peter's like, oh, yeah, Harry's dying. And he goes down the first where Harry's like, he's not doing great. And Mary Jane's like, oh, Jesus Christ, he's all like dead and stuff. And Peter is like, Harry. He's like, I just want to let you know, MJ. Best friends. You're my family. Ba-na-na-na-na-na-na. Family, bro, vroom, vroom, family. And he dies. And we get one of the best. I'm trying to debate which is the best Tobey Maguire ugly cry. It's either early in the movie or this part. He goes, Harry. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Harry coming back, Chad. Unless they might bring him back in Fast and Furious 10. Who knows? But Harry dies, and we then go to his funeral. No idea if they reveal he was the new Goblin. The thing is, like, the police are there and shit. So at this point, like, they're going to open a whole investigation and find out that Norman Osborn was the Green Goblin. Again, it doesn't fucking matter. Who knows? And shit. And Peter goes to Uncle Ben's grave or whatever. You know, great power, great responsibility, bullshit. And then we're at the very end of the movie where MJ's performing at the nightclub again, the jazz club, and she's singing some goddamn song. And then Peter comes in, and she walks off the stage, takes his hand, and they just start dancing. And that's it. That's the end of the movie, chat. That's Spider-Man 3. Really weird fucking ending, but that is the end of the Sam Raimi trilogy, chat. Goes out with a huge whimper, in my opinion, chat. Definitely the worst of the bunch. There are some occasionally good scenes in this movie. There's some good moments, few and far between. They're there. A lot of the rest of the film is unintentionally funny. Bad, horrific, some of the worst dialogue, some of the worst writing in the franchise. The retconning, the convenience with the story, the amount of conveniences it takes of the story is ridiculous. There's stuff that just doesn't make any sense. It's like, what the fuck is going on? It's just weird. It's truly bizarre. I don't know, chat. Like, there is occasionally some good moments in the movie. I know back in the day I would be like, this is a fuck you movie. It kind of is in a lot of ways. But I give it like the lowest of low some old bullshits. I'll give it the low. It's a low, some old bullshit, chat. It's like, you could see it. Raymond Strickland, he was. Everyone, all the writers who worked on this movie were stuck on the script. So many issues. But this is definitely, it's a high fuck you, low, some old bullshit, chat. Just bad. Well, it's the end of the movie. Guess we hook up now? I guess. Now, Spider-Man 4, they were going to do a Spider-Man 4 and shit, but that didn't happen. I talked about that in the beginning of my review. But yeah, Chad, that's my Spider-Man 3 review. It was a saga. I knew it would be a long one, Chad. I told you it'd be a long one, and here we are. Boom. Awesome. My take, this film stinks. I don't like this movie. It has Doc Ock case of Butterfingers. James Carl, oh, well, I'm sure this will be the last thing this will I will ever get. No, that's what. Now, what's this I hear about a fallen kingdom? Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I totally forgot he was in that. Doing some old bullshit, super low rental for you, baby GTG. Crusaders, I still have a soft spot for this movie, but yeah, there's so many issues. It's not even funny. It's to each their own. Fourth one going to be about, it was going to sell. Dark Side thing about it is that I was able to catch the tail end of this movie. Man, thank you. No, thank you. Please do check out the rest of the whole of its entirety. I knew it'd be almost 4 hours. Yeah, I think it was like, well, I think I started the review at an hour, I want to say, 45 minutes into the stream. So, yeah, about 3 hours. 3-hour review. I like Amazing Spider 1 and 2, and I said, that's fine, Black Knight. I like what you like, dislike what you dislike. That's what I do. That's a policy I live by. The fourth film was supposed to be, apparently, the main villain was going to be the Vulture. Looks like they're recording, or he already been cast, John Malkovich. Anne Hathaway was apparently going to play either a new character called the Vultress, who is going to be Adrian Toomes' daughter, or she's going to be cast as Felicia Hardy, Black Cat. Bruce Campbell was also supposed to be revealed as Mysterio Quentin Beck in the beginning of the movie. That was going to be the main plot of the story. Originally, Sam Raimi wanted to use 2 villains in this film, and I think it was supposed to be Vulture and Sandman, but they scrapped it for Venom. Yeah, that was the initial premise of the movie, and that was that. But then they decided, Sam Raimi, they wanted the movie to come out in 2011. Sam Raimi said he needed more time, and then Sony's like, we want this at this time, and he left the production before it really started, and then they decided to reboot it with The Amazing Spider-Man, which came out in 2012 with Andrew Garfield, and they did the Lizard. It was too bad because Dylan Baker wanted to play the Lizard so bad, and he didn't get it. Yeah, not that fucking what they did with the Lizard in that movie was great. It was not. It was not. And we'll talk about it. My next Spider-Man review will be for The Amazing Spider-Man 1. Got a lot to say about that. Yeah. I think it would have been fun. Chris Ayers, yeah, Remy felt bad about how 3 came out and wanted to do one more just in the series on a high note. But it reached a point behind the scenes where he just is like, no, fucking, it ain't worth it. Yeah. Yeah, it's for the best. It's for the best that he left it. I didn't want to see any more Spider-Man movies from him. I don't know why I used a question mark. That's fine. Bruce Campbell would make a good Mysterio. Well, for the best, that's Spider-Man was. I agree. I didn't need that. I'm interested to see what his Doctor Strange 2 is going to be. I want to see him with a new hero. See how that works. But yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of his take on Spider-Man, so let sleeping dogs lie. Thank you, Austin. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this review. I knew it would be long. Do you think 3 would have been better if they had only been one enemy? Yeah, oh yeah. They had it been either Harry as like Hobgoblin, or maybe it was Hobgoblin and Sandman, but the whole retconning in Sandman just didn't work. Like, I like how Sandman, like, his power set is kind of cool, but yeah, it should have been one villain. I mean, you could have 2 villains. Like, you've had superhero films that have had multiple villains, 2 villains, and they work well. Fucking, you had Spider-Man Homecoming, Shocker, you had Vulture. You have a main villain, and you have like a side villain. And that's how you work it. Yeah, Dark Knight, Two-Face, and Joker. So it can work. But yeah, I do hope Raimi goes balls to wall with Doctor Strange. I agree. I actually just like the reboot most Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah. Thank you, Jason, everybody. Thor came out that day. Huh? Yeah, Multiverse will be interesting because he's never done a sequel to a movie that didn't. That's true. That'd be interesting. I'm interested, Chad. We'll find out. Thank you, Chris Harris, for the 5 biddies. Woo, Chad. This was a long review. I knew it would be. My friends. Oh, my Lord. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a good goddamn time with this review. I'm gonna take a break, Chad. I need myself a beverage. Chap. That was fun. Yay, it was fun. A Rhino. I am the Rhino. We'll get to Amazing Spider-Man 2. Paul Giamatti. I want to be the Rhino. I am the Rhino, Spider-Man. Ugh. Blah. Now sing hero. And they say that a hero can save us. Not gonna stand here and wait. And they say that the wings of a hero watch as they all fly away. And they're watching us. And they're watching us fly away. And sing. Drink whiskey to remember. That's what you do. That's what Harry does. I drink to remember. Now you're trucking the chaos. Thank you, chap. Oh, my Lord. My Lord. Fly away. Chat, I'll be right back. Please entertain yourselves amongst yourselves. I shall return in a hot minute. I gotta go potty. Chat. Stick around, you crazy kids.